Chapter 201. Strange Flower, Fire God's Key. The whole palace seemed to have awakened. Numerous Fire God's palace guards poured out inside. They had the same goal, heading straight for the skeletal warriors. At this time, Lin Moyu was still standing at the palace's gate. Seeing the scene before him, he immediately ordered the skeletal warriors to turn back. If they were to proceed forward, they would be hit by the control-type skill, before being surrounded and killed. The lack of an anti-control type ability is really a major weakness of his. A skeletal warrior appeared next to him and lifted the remaining Fire God's palace guard's corpse. In a dungeon, after a monster dies, its corpse will exist for a short time. As time goes by, the corpse's health will rapidly decrease. It has only been about a minute since he dealt with the two Fire God's palace guards at the gate, yet Lin Moyu can already feel that most of the corpse's health had disappeared. After a while, even the corpse itself will disappear. The skeletal warriors ran back, followed by numerous pursuers. Throw it, Lin Moyu willed, and the skeletal warrior next to him threw the Fire God's palace guard's corpse. Skill, corpse explosion. The corpse passed over the heads of the skeletal warriors and then exploded in the air. The explosion swept through the palace's interior, and the entire palace trembled. Lin Moyu's pupils constricted. Not a single one of the pursuing Fire God's palace guards was killed in the explosion. The corpse has existed for too long, and so its health was greatly reduced. Even with the skill's amplification, the corpse's detonation still wasn't enough to kill the Fire God's palace guards. It was only able to blow them away. After being attacked, the Fire God's palace guards shifted targets and focused on Lin Moyu. They bellowed and rushed toward him. At this time, a red light flashed, and red chain patterns appeared on the heads of the Fire God's palace guards. The speed of the Fire God's palace guards suddenly slowed. Lin Moyu locked on the Fire God's palace guard running at the very front, and his palm burned with soul blaze. The skeletal mages also focused their firepower on the same Fire God's palace guard, and lightning thundered, wind howled, and arrows of ice swooshed. Soul blaze caused severe damage. Along with a tragic scream, the Fire God's palace guard collapsed to the ground. Boom! Another explosion echoed throughout the palace. Since the Fire God's palace guard just died, its corpse was fresh and full of health. This time the explosion cleared away the pursuers, and a series of notifications popped up. Each Fire God's palace guard provided 1.36 million express. After this wave, Lin Moyu's express increased by a large chunk and reached 97%, only 3% away from a level up. Lin Moyu was still standing at the palace's gate. But at this time, the palace's interior has become empty. The alarm continued to ring, but no new guards rushed over. The skeletal warriors braved the flames and ran toward the palace's interior once more, proceeding to play their final role. As they ran, one of the skeletal warriors fell down. It completed its final mission and reached the end of its road. Its bones quickly turned into powder, and then disappeared without a trace along with a gust of hot wind. Lin Moyu sighed in his heart. Skeletal warriors are the most loyal and perfect combatants. They fear neither pain nor death, and will faithfully execute any order given to them. After crossing the palace, a garden with rockeries, streams, and a pool appeared in front of Lin Moyu. Unlike any garden Lin Moyu has seen so far, the rockeries here are mounds of fire and the streams are filled with lava. The whole garden exudes a burning hot aura, much hotter than in the palace. Violent heat waves, carrying rich fire element, slammed into Lin Moyu head-on and triggered the bone armor. What's this? Glaring firelight surged, and Lin Moyu instinctively narrowed his eyes. Through the cracks between the flames, Lin Moyu sighted a flower made of crystal, blooming brilliantly in the middle of the flames. It is breathtakingly beautiful, and is gently swaying in the middle of lava. For a flower to appear in such an environment, it must be unusual. 2 more skeletal warriors fell down and turned into smoke. Of the 16 skeletal warriors Lin Moyu summoned initially, 4 have died so far. The remaining 12 won't last long either. Lin Moyu asked them to try to pick the flower. But when the skeletal warriors approached the lava churned violently, and the surrounding temperature instantly increased several-fold. The skeletal warriors fell one after another. The last few barely touched the lava, when a giant hand of fire extended from the lava and slapped the skeletal warriors. These skeletal warriors were already on the verge of death, their bones covered in cracks. Now that they were slapped by the giant hand of fire, the remaining skeletons fell apart and died. After it smashed the skeletal warriors, the giant hand that extended from the lava shot toward Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu quickly retreated and dodged. At the same time, the skeletal mages launched an attack against the giant hand. Frozen Tempest, Cyclone Storm, Thunderstruck, 3 types of elemental spells landed on the giant hand one after another. Fizz, white smoke came from the giant hand. As if it felt pain, the giant hand retracted with a swish. Lin Moyu was stunned. It escaped. A monster running away is not a common sight at all. In the next moment, the lava surged violently and rose into the sky. Bang bang bang. Lin Moyu heard a heartbeat. A heart made of fire appeared above the flower, throbbing loudly and making an overcast sound. The lava rising into the sky turned into a 10-meter-tall giant, the flower located inside its body, still visible. The flower was planted on top of its heart, rising and falling along with the heartbeat. The giant roared, and the lava churned more violently. Pillars of fire shot up into the sky, and fire rained down on the entire garden. The majority of the lava integrated into the giant's body, making his more powerful. Fire God's Palace Gardener, Hell Rank Leader. Level 36. Strength 20,000. Agility 10,000. Spirit 10,000. Physique 20,000. Skill none. Characteristic Fire Elemental Immunity. The Fire God's Palace Gardener's strength and physique have both reached 20,000 points, which puts it nearly on the same level as the Skeletal Warriors. When added together, its attributes have reached 60,000 points. Although it has no skills, but with just normal attacks, it is enough to give people a headache. If it were outside, Lin Moyu would have nothing to fear. He would just use skeletal warriors to overwhelm it. But he can't do this here. Otherwise, the skeletons would have to bear the attack of the dungeon's fire element in vain. However, if he doesn't summon a large number of skeletons, it will probably take a lot of time to destroy the leader monster in front of him. The defense of the skeletal mages is much lower than that of the skeletal warriors. Subjected to the perpetual damage caused by the fire element, they won't be able to last long. Lin Moyu summoned 9 skeletal warriors. Including the one that threw the corpse, there are currently 10 skeletal warriors in the garden. The 10 skeletal warriors quickly ran back into the palace and dragged out the corpses of the recently killed Fire God's Palace guards. By this time, the Fire God's Palace Gardener had already launched an attack against Lin Moyu. It sent its giant palm slamming down. Lin Moyu didn't dodge, but instead cast Slowing Curse to slow down its movements. At the same time, Soul Blaze burned in his hand, causing the Fire God's Palace Gardener damage. Soul Blaze's damage wasn't low. In fact, it was on the same level as that of the skeletal mages' skills. But the pain it caused, that would be etched into your bones. The Fire God's Palace Gardener's attention was focused on Lin Moyu, and it continued to attack him. The bone armor shone brightly, blocking all attacks. Fire God's Palace Gardener was a Hell Rank leader, and so its health was astonishingly high. With only 20 skeletal mages, plus Lin Moyu, it would take a lot of time to kill it. After a while, the skeletal warriors ran back with the corpses, each dragging 2 corpses behind them, for a total of 20. Although these corpses have been dead for a while and their health has been greatly reduced, but they are still better than nothing. The skeletons tossed the 20 corpses toward the Fire God's Palace Gardener. Skill: Corpse Explosion. The corpses detonated in midair, and lava splashed, exposing gaps. The Fire God's Palace Gardener apparently sustained considerable damage. Explosions rose one after another. Lin Moyu didn't spare his spirit force and continuously cast his skill. The Necromancer class only requires sufficient spirit force. Its skills have no cooldown. At least for the time being, Lin Moyu hasn't found any skill with cooldown. Explosions rose continuously. After throwing their corpses, the skeletal warrior didn't remain idle, but rushed to the Fire God's Palace Gardener. In the face of the 10-meter-tall Fire God's Palace Gardener, the skeletal warriors looked tiny. The skeletal warriors swung their blades, and red light suddenly appeared. The red light was of a brighter color than the flames. Skill: Berserk Strike. The Fire God's Palace Gardener suddenly screamed. Corpse Explosion, Soul Blaze, and the skeletal mages' magic attacks, as well as the skeletal warriors' skill-powered attacks, this combination dealt a fatal blow to the Fire God's Palace Gardener. For start to finish, the battle only lasted 5 minutes. Killed Fire God's Palace Gardener, EXP plus 2,160,000. Obtained Fire God's Key. Obtained Fire God's Flower. Fire God's Key, a key that can open the true Fire God's Palace. Fire God's Flower, can be used to awaken the fire god. Boom! After the fire god's palace gardener died, the lava flared up again. Hot lava surged from all directions, as if to engulf the garden. Chapter 202, Prerequisite Mission of the True Fire God's Palace. Lin Moyu quickly crossed the garden and entered the deepest part of the dungeon. The temperature grew hotter and hotter. That's Hell rank difficulty for you. While Nightmare rank difficulty requires 2 supports, Hell rank difficulty requires at least 4 supports. Ordinary parties will stand no chance. When it comes to a level 32 dungeons, at Hell rank difficulty, a party of 12 class users, level 37 at the highest, can enter. Without special equipment, even 4 supports might not cut it. This dungeon's difficulty is very high, higher than that of any other dungeon Lin Moyu had raided so far. The perpetual fire damage would be a huge headache to all class users. Lin Moyu finally arrived at the deepest part of the dungeon. At this time, more than 3 hours had passed since he entered the dungeon. The skeletal mages Lin Moyu released have nearly reached their limit. Let's finish this within 10 minutes. After calculating the time, Lin Moyu realized that the skeletal mages he released will die if he doesn't clear the dungeon within 10 minutes. In the deepest part of the dungeon, there was a waterfall of lava. Lin Moyu raised his head and saw an eye at the very top of the dungeon. It was the giant burning eye he saw outside the palace. At this time, the giant burning eye flew over and landed on top of the waterfall of lava, and the waterfall of lava rumbled. Boulders dropped, the waterfall cut off, and the mountain deformed, forming a one-eyed giant. The one-eyed giant had a height of more than 20 meters, was composed of huge rocks, and had lava flowing on its surface. Lava Giant, Hell Rank Boss. Level, 38. Strength, 25,000. Agility, 10,000. Spirit, 10,000. Physique, 25,000. Skills, Death Firewire, Lava Jet, Volcano Eruption. Characteristics, Fire Elemental Immunity, Fire Elemental Enhancement. This level 38 Hell rank boss has a total of 70,000 points in attributes, which is equivalent to that of the level 39 Elemental Great Mage from the Elemental Secret Realm. It surpassed Skeletal Warriors in terms of strength and physique. Hell rank boss. Lin Moyu found it strange. He thought that the boss of the Fire God's Palace Hall should be a monster called Fire God. But the boss turned out to be a lava giant. Moreover, the Fire God's Key and Fire God's Flower he just obtained don't seem to have any use. Lin Moyu felt that things shouldn't be that simple. However, he reached the end of the road for the dungeon. There shouldn't be any more road to walk. He got a clue from the Fire God's Key. Fire God's Key, a key that can open the true Fire God's Palace. In other words, the Fire God's Palace Hall and the Fire God's Palace are not the same dungeon. It can be said that the Fire God's Palace Hall is just a prerequisite dungeon of the Fire God's Palace. Some dungeons had prerequisite missions, where only people who complete the prerequisite missions were eligible to enter the dungeons. It seems that the true Fire God's Palace follows the same structure. The dungeon called Fire God's Palace Hall in front of Lin Moyu is just a prerequisite dungeon of the true Fire God's Palace. Lin Moyu came to this conclusion in the blink of an eye. The lava giant roared and suddenly fired a ray of fire from its huge single eye. Skill, Death Firewire. The ray of fire was too fast. Lin Moyu was hit before he could even react. Along with a bang, the bone armor sparkled, and then made a cracking sound. Lin Moyu quickly reapplied the bone armor. After entering the dungeon, the bone armor had been burned by flames all along, and so its power had been greatly reduced. In addition, the lava giant's Death Firewire skill possessed great might, pushing the bone armor to its limit. Very nice. Now that he reached the final stage of the dungeon, there was no longer any need to hold things back. He had to finish the fight within 10 minutes. 3 minutes passed already, which left 7 minutes remaining. Lin Moyu instantly released the remaining skeletons in the summon space. A total of 154 skeletal warriors and 72 skeletal mages appeared in the dungeon, forming a powerful legion. At this point, the 16 skeletal warriors that were summoned from the get-go have already fallen. At the same time, the 28 fire skeletal mages, which were rendered useless by the boss's fire elemental immunity characteristic, remained in the summon space. This slightly affected the overall combat power of Lin Moyu's legion. Lin Moyu adjusted his way of thinking. As the level of the dungeons he raids grows higher and their difficulty increases, it is inevitable that the skeletons will fall. Moreover, he has been raiding dungeons by himself all along, making such a thing even harder to avoid. Lin Moyu took a deep breath, and the battle entered a new phase. The skeletal warriors, having turned into masses of fire, reached the feet of the lava giant, dauntlessly climbed onto its body, and then unleashed their skill one after another. At the same time, the skeletal mages unleashed an overwhelming tsunami of magic attacks. Lin Moyu didn't remain idle either. He started with Slowing Curse, then followed up with Soul Blaze. He cast Soul Blaze again and again. Since he was in a hurry, Lin Moyu used all available skills. The lava giant, hit by the curse, slowed down significantly. However, unlike the fire god's palace gardener, it didn't use physical attack. It shot Death Firewire from its single eye non-stop. Death Firewire was very powerful. Whenever it landed on the skeletal warriors, it dealt a considerable amount of damage. At the same time, it opened its mouth and belched lava. Skill: Lava Jet. Lava spurted out from the huge mouth and crashed down like a rainstorm, giving off the impression that it will flood the entire dungeon. Meanwhile, the ground rumbled, and a great force triggered violent explosions. The skill had a knockback effect. A large number of the skeletal warriors were blown away. As for the skeletal warriors crawling on the lava giant's body, they held on tightly and bore the burning of the lava, all the while attacking it continuously. Lin Moyu didn't know how high the lava giant's health was. All he could do now was to step on the gas and keep attacking. His will was transmitted to the skeletons, and they stepped on the gas as well. The skeletal warriors who were blown away quickly rushed back undauntedly. After going through the previous experience, they learned their lesson. They jumped onto the lava giant one by one. In the blink of an eye, the skeletal warriors covered the lava giant's body, attacking it relentlessly. Lin Moyu also continued to cast Soul Blaze, causing it great pain. At this time, Death Firewire stopped and Lava Jet vanished. Lin Moyu suddenly realized that something was wrong. In the next moment, the ground shook violently, as if it were a magnitude 10.0 earthquake. Unable to stabilize himself for a moment, Lin Moyu almost fell down. The lava giant released light from all over its body, and the lava flowing on its surface became several times faster. Boom! Lava rose into the sky, exploded in the air, and turned into a rain of fire. Skill: Volcano Eruption. Numerous volcanoes emerged from underground and erupted one after another, filling the ground with lava. In a flash, the place where Lin Moyu stood was covered in lava. But the bone armor protected him from harm. The skeletal mages also stood in the lava, suffering a great deal of damage. Lin Moyu became even more anxious. If this persisted, the 20 skeletal mages he summoned first won't be able to hold on. The volcanoes continued to erupt, and the rain of fire grew more intense, as if it was going to engulf the entire dungeon. The rain of fire also fell on the lava giant, and violent shock waves broke out and knocked the skeletal warriors crawling on its body down. Although it was still affected by Slowing Curse, but the lava giant didn't use ordinary attacks. It only used skills. Slowing Curse couldn't block its skills. The skeletal warriors continued to suffer a lot of damage as they attacked it like crazy. The more anxious Lin Moyu grew, the more desperately the skeletons attacked. Soul Blaze continued to flash in Lin Moyu's palm non-stop. The two sides fought recklessly. Time trickled down minute by minute. The 20 skeletal mages Lin Moyu summoned first were littered with cracks, on the verge of destruction. They could die at any time. However, the lava giant appeared to be reaching its limit as well. It started to grow weak. Even the flames on its single eye disappeared. The lava flowing on its body vanished, revealing the black rock underneath. The blades of the skeletal warriors fell on its body and split the black rock into pieces. Soul Blaze caused it unbearable pain. At last, its body began to break down. Rocks fell down. Die! Lin Moyu unleashed a growl. With a loud bang, the lava giant finally collapsed. Killed Lava Giant, Express. The moment after the lava giant died, the passage to outside the dungeon emerged. Lin Moyu chose to leave the dungeon right away, without even reading the notifications. Chapter 203. Do you think that the 12 of us can't match up to him? A familiar sound entered Lin Moyu's ears. It was the sound produced by the vortex at the dungeon's entrance. Lin Moyu quickly checked his summon space. When they left the dungeon, both the skeletal warriors and the skeletal mages were sent back into the summon space. 154 skeletal warriors and 100 skeletal mages stayed quietly in the summon space. I made it. Lin Moyu breathed a long sigh of relief. He defeated the boss monster in time. Although they were all seriously injured, with some even being on the verge of death. No matter how much damage the skeletons suffered, so long as they returned to the summoned space alive, they would be able to recover in a short period of time. That was too close. If it had taken Lin Moyu another 1 or 2 seconds to exit the dungeon, the 20 skeletal mages he summoned first would have been done for. After coming out of the dungeon, Lin Moyu finally had the frame of mind to check his harvest. Killed lava giant, EXP plus 3,800,000. Obtained lava stave. Obtained fire crystal fragment, lava stave, gold rank weapon, all attributes plus 500, increases the power of mage type skills by 45%, increases the power of fire type skills by an additional 20%. Fire crystal fragment. 3 fire crystal fragments can be fused to form a fire crystal. The lava stave was a powerful gold rank weapon for fire type mages. It increased the power of fire type mages by 65%, which was something that even some low-level platinum weapons couldn't compare to. Lin Moyu, however, had no interest in the weapon. His interest was only piqued by the fire crystal fragment. 3 fire crystal fragments can be fused to form 1 fire crystal. But what was the use of the fire crystal? Lin Moyu didn't know. Maybe Shu Han will know. Lin Moyu glanced around the dungeon hall, but couldn't find her. Shu Han was no longer in the dungeon hall. She must have gone somewhere else. At this moment, a bell rang abruptly. It rang 3 times in a row. Upon hearing the bell ringing, a flood of people rushed into the dungeon hall. Lin Moyu was slightly dazed, wondering what was going on. He didn't know that, when someone set a new record in the dungeon hall, a bell would ring. He set new records before. But when the bell rang, he was still in the dungeon. He wasn't aware of this feature. This time he came out right away and so was able to hear it. Many people looked for the origin of the new record and quickly locked on the entrance of the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, where Lin Moyu was located. When they saw Lin Moyu, they revealed understanding expressions. Lin Moyu had been setting new records again and again. The people in the dungeon hall started to grow accustomed to it. They wondered what was the record that Lin Moyu set. Above the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, the light screen began to display Lin Moyu's result. The result of the previous party disappeared. Someone said in surprise, "That's strange." Even though Lin Moyu set a new record, the people who set the previous record should have dropped to second place. Why was their result erased altogether? Do you want to know why? Someone said mysteriously all of a sudden. Why? A group of people looked at him in tandem. The man smiled mysteriously, because Boss Lin cleared the Fire God's Palace Hall at Hell rank difficulty. According to the rules, only the top 3 records of the highest difficulty are kept. Get serious. I have raided the Fire God's Palace Hall before. It has no Hell rank difficulty. The highest difficulty it has is Nightmare rank difficulty. That's right. Who are you trying to fool? I've been in the dungeon hall for years now, and I know every one of its dungeons like the back of my hand. The man snorted, "Why would I fool you? When the dungeon was upgraded, I was next to it." The group of people acted as if no one else was around, completely disregarding Lin Moyu. Someone promptly went to check. Seeing Lin Moyu still standing in front of the dungeon's gate, he said to him, "Boss Lin, please excuse us. We would like to take a look at the dungeon." Lin Moyu stepped aside helplessly. He sank into contemplation, trying to think of a better way to raid the dungeon. To complete a fire crystal, 3 fire crystal fragments are required, which demands at least 3 raids. According to the conventional dungeon gameplay, Lin Moyu will have to lose skeletal warriors every raid. This time he lost 16 skeletal warriors. He felt quite a heartache at this. He must come up with an effective raid strategy. At this time, the students gathered around to check the dungeon. There's really Hell rank difficulty. I have ever only heard about dungeon upgrades. But I never thought it to be true. Boss Lin is really awesome. He can even trigger a dungeon upgrade. Look, the result is out. Everyone looked up and saw that Lin Moyu's final result had appeared, 3 hours, 58 minutes, 22 seconds. It wasn't particularly fast. In fact, when compared with Lin Moyu's previous results, it fell quite short. But considering that this was Hell rank difficulty, everyone felt that it was fast enough. After all, the previous record, for Nightmare rank difficulty, was more than 8 hours. In the end, Lin Moyu soloed the dungeon at Hell rank difficulty in less than 4 hours, which was absolutely sensational. Don't worry, when Boss Lin goes in for the second time, he will surely set a new record. Yes, it was like this before. The second time is a record that no one can break. Lin Moyu turned a deaf ear to what was happening next to him. Instead, he focused his mental faculties on simulation and deduction, before coming up with a way to quickly clear the dungeon. It was a bit risky, but if it succeeded, this method could be applied to not only to this dungeon but also to many other dungeons. By then, his leveling speed would be greatly improved. I can give it a try. Lin Moyu's eyes shone brightly, eager to give it a try. However, the skeletons were still recovering from their injuries in the summon space. It will take them some time to fully recover. Let's first go ask teacher about the fire crystal. Lin Moyu activated the teleportation stone and teleported directly to the Godby courtyard. Boss Lin has left. Forget it. The fire god's palace hall was already hard enough. Now that there's also hell rank difficulty, it must have become even harder. It is said that the fire god's palace hall is one of the 5 elemental dungeons and can drop elemental fragments. If you can gather 5 elemental fragments, you will be able to obtain an incredible treasure. Don't think about it. That's just a legend. And even if it is true, it's not within our purview. Not long after Lin Moyu left, a party arrived at the dungeon hall. They wore a uniform and were led by B.L.L. Shang. When the dungeon was upgraded, a student of the B.L.L. Institute just so happened to be in the dungeon hall. He quickly sent back news of what happened. When B.L.L. Shang heard of it, he immediately organized a party and rushed over. He was after the legendary elemental fragments. He had raided the Fire God's Palace Hall at Nightmare rank difficulty several times already, but he had never obtained an elemental fragment before. The same was true for everyone else. Later he asked his grandfather, the dean of the B.L.L. Institute, about this. After careful consideration, he concluded that elemental fragments should only be dropped in Hell rank difficulty. Therefore, when he heard that the Fire God's Palace Hall activated the Hell rank difficulty, he immediately took a party here. He was currently level 37. If he raised his level once more, he would no longer be eligible to enter this dungeon. Since he was the grandson of the dean of the B.L.L. Institute, some people in B.L.L. Institute called him the young dean. He had quite a bit of pull in the institute. As a result, when he issued a summon, people quickly assembled. B.L.L. Sheng formed a party of 12, composed of 2 knights, 1 prophet, 4 healers, and 5 damage dealers. They were all equipped with gold rank equipment, and were level 35 at the lowest. Considering the special nature of the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, the 5 damage dealers were all physical class users, 3 archers and 2 warriors. At the same time, they had a bunch of potions hanging from their waist. In the Hell rank dungeon, the storage space can't be accessed, so they took out the potions in advance. At the same time, B.L.L. Sheng also prepared Fireguard talismans for them. Fireguard talismans can be used to gain resistance against the fire element for a certain period of time. B.L.L. Sheng came well prepared. He not only wanted to clear the dungeon, but also wanted to set a new record. The dungeon had just been upgraded, so the original record had been erased, and a new record must not have been set yet. When he arrived in front of the dungeon, B.L.L. Sheng instinctively looked up at the screen of light. He was dazed. The people who came with him had incredulous looks in their eyes. A new record had been set. Lin Moyu's name shone prominently on the screen of light. 3 hours, 58 minutes, 22 seconds, this result nearly blinded B.L.L. Sheng. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Young Dean, do we go in? Someone asked in a low voice. B.L.L. Sheng came back to his senses and snorted coldly, of course we go in. Or do you think the 12 of us can't match up to him? Come with me, let's create a new record. B.L.L. Sheng shouted, trying to cheer himself up. Chapter 204. Raid the dungeon a few more times, I will give you a discount. In the Godby courtyard, Ning Taran stared at Lin Moyu with a displeased expression. The stare made Lin Moyu feel uncomfortable. To have a godly powerhouse look at you with such an unkind expression, it would make anyone feel cold inside. Bai Yiyuan smiled and said, ignore this guy. That's just the way he is. What brings you here? You're the one responsible for the upgrade of the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, aren't you? Lin Moyu made a sound of assent, then took out the fire crystal fragment, as well as the Fire God's key and Fire God's flower. Teacher, please take a look. The Fire God's key and Fire God's flower were soul-bound, so Lin Moyu couldn't hand them over to them. He could only have them take a look. Bai Yiyuan took a closer look. Fire crystal. Meng Anwen opened his eyes and looked over. Ning Taran also turned his attention to the fire crystal fragment. Meng Anwen suddenly chuckled, so it's like this. It turns out the legend was right, but not completely. Lin Moyu didn't quite understand what Meng Anwen meant. He didn't know about the legend. Bai Yiyuan saw this and gave an explanation. There is a legend stating that if 5 elemental fragments are combined into one, you will be able to get an incredible thing. Actually, the real legend states that when 5 elemental fragments are combined, an elemental divine stone can be obtained. During the third awakening, the elemental divine stone can increase your chances for the second-class sublimation by a certain amount. As you must know, high-level legendary class users need to undergo at least 2 class sublimations. But it's very difficult to achieve the second-class sublimation. Although we have a lot of treasures and various means, but the chances are still very low. The legendary elemental divine stone can raise the chances of a second-class sublimation by about 30%. Lin Moyu was shocked. If that was the case, then it was something truly remarkable. But it was naturally very difficult to get such a thing. After listening to Bai Yiyuan's explanation, he finally understood. It was practically impossible to get an elemental divine stone. After all, no one knew where the lightning and light elemental dungeons were located. The legend of the elemental divine stone was spread by a class user a long time ago. It was said that he completed 2 class sublimations. But that was too long ago and could not be verified. Ning Terran suddenly said, raid the dungeon a few more times and get some more fire crystal fragments. Lin Moyu was taken aback at first, and then immediately understood the meaning of Ning Terran's words. Don't worry, Mr. Ning, I will get ye a flame crystal. Seeing Lin Moyu be so sensible, his expression softened a little. At this time, Bai Yiyuan turned his attention to the fire god's key and fire god's flower in Lin Moyu's hands. He took a careful look and then revealed a shade of shock. So there is still such a thing. Bai Yiyuan exclaimed. Meng Anwen's voice was calm. That's surprising. True fire god's palace, I wonder where it is. Ning Terran stroked his beard. I'm curious about how strong the fire god is. Bai Yiyuan said, keep these things. You might be able to use them in the future. What he meant by this was that the things weren't needed at the moment. As for whether they could be used in the future, they have no idea. After all, godly powerhouses were also human. They didn't know everything. Lin Moyu wasn't disappointed. He was content with learning about the fire crystal's use. Lin Moyu decided to raid the fire god's palace hall a few more times. After all, 3 fragments were needed to form a fire crystal. Furthermore, he wanted to get a fire crystal for himself, his sister, and Ning Yi. Even if a fire crystal fragment were to drop every time, he would still need to raid the dungeon at least 15 times. Lin Moyu meditated in the Godbai courtyard for a while and restored his spirit force. At the same time, he summoned 6 skeletal warriors, bringing the number of skeletal warriors to 160. 2 hours later, after the skeletons in the summon space had fully recovered, Lin Moyu said goodbye to Bai Yiyuan and the others and returned to the dungeon hall. After taking a look at the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, Lin Moyu spent points to reset the dungeon's cooldown period. Regarding Hell rank difficulty, the entry fee enter the dungeon, 1000 points were required, and to reset the cooldown, 5000 points were required. This was quite expensive. How come it only costs 500 points to reset the dungeon? And it only costs 100 points to enter the dungeon? After resetting the dungeon and seeing the notification, Lin Moyu was confused, wondering what was going on. He looked at other dungeons and found that there were no changes. Their fees remained the same. Only the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon has become particularly cheap, its entry and reset fees have been reduced by 90%. Needless to say, this was a privilege Ning Terran granted to Lin Moyu. After all, Lin Moyu had to gather fire crystal fragments for his precious granddaughter. Furthermore, he may become a member of his family in the future. Ning Terran naturally had to convenience him in some way. However, he didn't tell Lin Moyu about this, and he won't tell him in the future. Lin Moyu didn't understand what was going on, nor did he care. He was content that he could save some points. After all, points could be used to buy many things. When he previously set the new dungeon record, he received a reward of 10,000 points and 10 contribution points. The Academy also awarded points and contribution points to those who took first place in the class user competition. As a result, at this time, Lin Moyu had about 550,000 points and 500 contribution points. Suddenly, the dungeon's entrance shook, and a group of people emerged. These people were angry, cutting a sorry figure. As soon as they came out, the healers began to treat the rest. The raid of B.L.L and company ended in failure. The Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon at Hell rank difficulty was far more challenging than at Nightmare rank difficulty. Not only did the monsters become stronger, but the burning of the fire element has also increased significantly. The 4 healers, taking turns to provide treatment, were placed under great pressure. The party forged ahead with great difficulty. But after 2 hours, they were finally forced to retreat in embarrassment. B.L.L's expression looked very ugly. Despite the extensive preparations, the raid still ended up in failure. The dungeon's difficulty was too high. B.L.L was convinced that it should be impossible for other parties to clear the dungeon. Please step aside. I want to enter the dungeon. When B.L.L and company emerged from the dungeon, they just so happened to obstruct Lin Moyu's path. Who are you to tell us what to do? Go to some other dungeon. B.L.L was in a foul mood, not only because he failed the raid, but also because Lin Moyu succeeded. This proved once again that he is far from being a match for Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu looked at B.L.L. Are you asking for a beating? B.L.L snapped, what did you say? He frowned and looked over, his face distorted with anger. But when he saw Lin Moyu, his expression suddenly changed, it's you. There was both hatred and fear in his eyes. The source of his fear was Bai Yiyuan. He still remembers what happened last time. Backed by Bai Yiyuan, Lin Moyu wasn't an easy target to mess with. Make way, I want to enter the dungeon. Lin Moyu said in a quiet voice. B.L.L snorted coldly, but still motioned for his teammates to get out of the way. You can't block people from entering a dungeon, that was a rule that everyone must follow. B.L.L must follow it as well. Lin Moyu chose Hell difficulty and entered the dungeon. B.L.L said, use the dungeon detection talisman to see what rank of difficulty he has chosen. Immediately after, one of his teammates used a dungeon detection talisman. Young Dean, he chose Hell rank difficulty. B.L.L's expression changed, I want to see if he can clear the dungeon. Let's rest outside and discuss our gameplay for the next raid. It was definitely possible to clear the dungeon, but they had yet to figure out how to do that. They went outside the dungeon hall. As they discussed their strategy, they stared in the direction of the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon through the gate. B.L.L didn't quite believe that Lin Moyu was able to solo the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. Without the support of healers, how could anyone resist the continuous assault of the fire element in the dungeon? Lin Moyu entered the Fire God's Palace Hall for the second time. Compared to the last time, it gave off a completely different feeling. This time it was at Hell tank difficulty from the beginning. Lin Moyu took a deep breath, then 4 skeletal warriors appeared. He didn't summon more skeletons. As soon as the 4 skeletal warriors appeared, they ran across the flaming bridge as fast as they could, and then drew the fire sprites on the other side of the bridge toward the square. Lin Moyu followed from a distance. He could see the 4 skeletal warriors turn into 4 balls of fire, running like crazy in the dungeon. They circled the square, drawing the fire sprites into the square. The fire sprites, purely composed of the fire element, won't leave a corpse after death. As such, corpse explosion couldn't be used on them. To deal with them, unless he released a large number of skeletal warriors, Lin Moyu had to slowly take them down one at a time. Last time, he wasted a lot of time dealing with the fire sprites. It can be said that 2 hours of the record he set up last time were wasted here. The 4 skeletal warriors dispersed and entered the 4 caves respectively. Although no matter which cave you enter, you still had to cross all the caves before reaching the exit. There were also a few monsters in small chambers that had to be drawn one by one. The 4 skeletal warriors kept running across the caves, drawing the monsters they came across. Then, they ran out of the caves and ran toward the palace. Lin Moyu followed quickly behind them and ran out of the caves as well. Chapter 205, I'm in a hurry. When they stepped out of the caves, the skeletal warriors immediately spotted by the giant burning eye. The giant burning eye issued an alarm just like last time. The dungeon shook, and lava shot into the sky and turned into a rain of fire. The skeletal warriors ignored the rain of lava and continued to run forward. They rushed into the palace, drew the 2 Fire God's Palace guards, and then turned back instantly, not engaging the opponent in combat. Subsequently, the skeletal warriors ran back toward the caves, followed by a bunch of monsters. From fire sprites, to winged flamewinders, and flare lizards, they were followed by different kinds of monsters. The 2 Fire God's Palace guards could only be squeezed into the back of the group. Lin Moyu stepped out of the caverns at this time, looked at the skeletons running his way, and showed a knowing smile. He can use explosions once more. Skeletal warriors appeared one by one, for a total of 10. This time they weren't released from the summon space, but were newly summoned. At this moment, Lin Moyu's express reached 98%. Once the monsters pursuing the 4 skeletal warriors were blown up, he will definitely be able to level up. After he has leveled up, his spirit force will be reset. This was a great opportunity that can't be wasted. Lin Moyu made calculations beforehand. After summoning the 10 skeletal warriors, he still had 400 plus spirit force left. This was enough for him to unleash several explosions and level up. The 10 brand new skeletal warriors and the 4 returning skeletal warriors joined together. The 14 skeletal warriors targeted a flare lizard at the front of the monster legion and activated their skill. Lin Moyu wasn't idle either. He raised his hands and used 2 skills at the same time. Skill, Slowing Curse. Skill, Soul Blaze. Along with a droning sound, a large red net fell down, and the pursuing monsters turned slow. At this moment, the attacks of the skeletal warriors and Soul Blaze arrived. Instacle. Before the flare lizard even had the time to unleash a cry, it was already dead. Subsequently, light flashed in Lin Moyu's palm. Curse. Corpse Explosion. Boom. A powerful explosion covered up the sounds of lava spurting out, violent currents of air dispersed the rain of fire, and a large tract of monsters died instantaneously. Following the first explosion, explosions rang one after another. The dungeon shook even more violently. Monsters died in droves. Lin Moyu glowed with white light, indicating that he leveled up. A shade of delight appeared on his face. After being stuck at level 27 for a long time, he finally leveled up. If it weren't for the class user competition, I would have reached level 30 by now. It's a bit slow, Lin Moyu muttered to himself. If other class users were to hear these words, they would probably vomit blood. While other students who enrolled at the academy at the same time as him were still working hard to reach level 20, Lin Moyu had already reached level 28. And he still found his leveling speed to be slow. By the way, when he was in the process of rising to level 28, he had a girl by his side most of the time, gobbling up half of the express. The saying, "You shouldn't compare your lot to others," rings true. Lin Moyu checked his attributes. The summon space has been expanded to 280 slots. At this time, it has 10 empty slots. Lin Moyu can summon 10 more skeletons. Summon Skeletal Warrior, Summon Skeletal Mage, Slowing Curse, and Soul Blaze. The 4 skills have also reached level 28. The level of the 4 skills will increase as Lin Moyu levels up. The attributes of the Skeletal Warriors and Skeletal Mages have increased. The 4 attributes of the level 28 Skeletal Warriors have reached 24,000 points, while the Spirit Force of the Skeletal Mages has reached 48,000. What made Lin Moyu most happy was the fact that his Corpse Explosion skill leveled up at last and reached level 4. After his talent's amplification, the skill's range reached 120 meters and its power reached 750% of the corpse's health. The skill was greatly enhanced. It wasn't easy to upgrade the Corpse Explosion skill. Except the passive skills, the Corpse Explosion skill was the most difficult to upgrade. It took so long for it to reach level 4. The bone armor has also been upgraded, and its defense has reached 84,000 points. With the protection of the bone armor, even if Lin Moyu is faced with a hell rank boss, he can still have confidence in his defense. Even in a dungeon like the Fire God's Palace Hall, he will have no need for healers. In the blink of an eye, all the monsters in front of him were dead. The ground was littered with corpses. The giant burning eye at the top of the palace appeared to be shuddering. There seemed to be a trace of fear in its eye. At this time, Lin Moyu made an unprecedented move. He summoned 100 skeletal warriors at one go. The skeletal warriors took 2 corpses each and quickly dragged them into the palace. The giant burning eye proceeded to sound the alarm, and a multitude of Fire God's Palace guards rushed out. The skeletal warriors didn't charge to face the Fire God's Palace guards, but rather threw the corpses at them. Lin Moyu activated his skill, and the corpses detonated in the air. The level 4 Corpse Explosion skill possesses wider range and greater power. After several loud noises, the palace became completely quiet. Only the dozens of corpses of the Fire God's Palace guards remained. The skeletal warriors immediately replaced some of the corpses in their hands with the corpses of the Fire God's Palace guards. After all, their level was higher, and so was their health. Using corpse explosion with these corpses can unleash greater power. The skeletal warriors rushed out of the palace, with numerous corpses in tow, and entered the garden. This time, there was no fire god's flower in the garden. Lin Moyu realized that this thing might be similar to boss accessory material, in that it will only drop once every so often. The skeletal warriors ran to the waterfall of lava with the corpses. All of a sudden, a large hand extended from the lava. But before it could do anything, 2 consecutive explosions blew it back. Subsequently, lava shot into the air, and the fire god's palace gardener, the Hell rank leader, appeared. It was still forming its body and absorbing the lava's energy. Too slow. I have no time to spare. I'm in a hurry. Lin Moyu didn't want to wait for the fire god's palace gardener. After all, the health of the corpses diminished rapidly. The longer he waited, the less power the corpses would be able to unleash. The skeletal warriors threw dozens of corpses at once, none of which belonged to the fire god's palace guards. They were the corpses of monsters from the caves. Several minutes have passed by now, and so these corpses had less than 1/3 of their original health left. They would disappear after a while. Lin Moyu, in a grand manner, had more than half of them thrown at once. Curse! Corpse explosion! The corpses detonated in midair. Thundering noise rose without stop. Before the Hell rank leader could come to its senses, before it could even unleash a roar, it was already pushed to the brink of death. The roar gave way to a moan. Subsequently, another batch of corpses was thrown. In the middle of explosions, the fire god's palace gardener was finally killed. Killed fire god's palace gardener, EXP plus 2,160,000. Obtained fire sword. Fire sword. Gold rank weapon, all attributes plus 400, increases the power of knight-type skills by 40%. It can be considered a pretty good gold rank weapon, only one step away from a top weapon. Lin Moyu only glanced at it and then continued running deeper into the dungeon. He was really in a hurry. Chapter 206. A new record, an invisible slap in the face is the most devastating. Clack, clack, the sounds of skeletal warriors running kept rising from behind. The skeletal warrior were dragging a bunch of corpses behind them. However, the monster corpses were disappearing, their health completely gone. Only the fire god's palace guards' corpses still remained. After all, their health was higher, and thus they could hold out a while longer. The skeletal warriors, enveloped in flames, were constantly suffering damage. Even with the elemental resistance skill, which could reduce elemental damage by 3 times, even with the physique attribute of 24,000 points, the continuous stream of damage still gradually drained their health. In nightmare rank difficulty, the skeletal warriors could last for up to 10 hours. In hell rank difficulty, however, the skeletal warriors could only last for less than 3 hours. If they were to enter combat and take damage, the time would be further shortened. Therefore, Lin Moyu was in a hurry. He didn't want to see more skeletal warriors dying. After all, they were the most loyal soldiers, which he personally summoned. They couldn't speak and had no emotions, yet Lin Moyu was unwilling to let them die. He regarded them as comrades in arms and partners. Fortunately the dungeon isn't big. Yes, fortunately the dungeon wasn't big. After passing through the garden of lava guarded by the fire god's palace gardener, they entered the area where the boss was located. That huge eye flew over again, landed on top of the waterfall, and then turned into a lava giant with a single eye. The lava giant rose amid booming noise, awakening. Can't you be faster? Soul Blaze burned in Lin Moyu's hand, and then fell on the lava giant. But it didn't have any effect. There was an invisible force blocking Lin Moyu's Soul Blaze. During the awakening process, the lava giant couldn't be attacked. This was a feature of the dungeon, restraining Lin Moyu's actions. There was nothing he could do but wait. Nevertheless, he still tried to use Soul Blaze. The health of the fire god's palace guards' corpses was diminishing by the second. Lin Moyu fell into contemplation, wondering whether there was any way to speed up the process, or whether there was a way to delay the time of the fire god's palace guard's death. Finally, the lava giant let out a roar, fully awake. At this time, Soul Blaze took effect, and its roar turned into a wail. Skill. Slowing curse. A red light fell, and the lava giant's speed instantly slowed. Lin Moyu released all skeletal mages, except the fire-type ones, and wind, water, and lightning elements surged forth. Throw them. At the same time as the skeletal mages appeared, the skeletal warriors threw the corpses toward the lava giant. These actions were completed in the span of 1 second. The coordination between Lin Moyu and the skeletons was perfect. At this point, the health of the Fire God's Palace guards' corpses was only 1/4 of what it was when they just died. Fortunately, the corpse explosion skill amplified the damage by 750%, so they were still able to cause considerable damage. As if hidden weapons, the corpses flew in sync with Lin Moyu's corpse explosion skill. Explosions sounded one after another. The lava giant was bewildered by the explosions, each dealing a great deal of damage to it. The damage caused by the skeletal mages' skills wasn't weak either. But compared to the damage from corpse explosion, it was lacking. The lava giant let out a shocking roar, fear filling its eye. If things continued like this, it would die. But it couldn't stop. Skill, volcano eruption. Skill, death firewire. Skill, lava jet. The lava giant used its 3 signature skills at the same time, and the earth shook, flames filled the sky, and lava washed over the ground. Lin Moyu remained calm and collected. The skeletons, feeling neither pain nor fear, just continued with their work. By the time all the corpses have detonated, the lava giant was already at its last breath. The lava on its body had been blown away, revealing its dark rocky body. At this time, the skeletal warriors had already rushed to in front of it and unleashed their skill, giving it the coup de grace and CE. Killed lava giant, EXP plus 3,800,000. Obtained lava bow. Obtained fire crystal fragment. Lava bow. Gold rank weapon, all attributes plus 400, agility plus 300, increases the power of archer type skills by 45%, increases the power of fire type archer skills by an additional 15%. Fire crystal fragment. 3 fire crystal fragments can be fused into a fire crystal. Lin Moyu took a deep breath. His prediction had come true. None of the skeletons died, and their injuries weren't serious. At this rate, it was entirely possible to summon another batch of skeletons and raid the dungeon again, while this batch could recuperate in the summon space. With 2 batches taking turns, unless his stamina couldn't keep up, Lin Moyu wouldn't need to take breaks. In this way, efficiency could be greatly improved. Even though he had to raid the dungeon a dozen plus times, a few days would suffice. Having obtained another fire crystal fragment, Lin Moyu was satisfied and exited the dungeon. In the dungeon hall, the bell rang 3 times. 3 loud bell tolls meant that a new record was set for a dungeon. But surprisingly, the people outside were not in a hurry this time, and some even looked like they had expected it. Although they had guessed as much, they still wanted to take a look. A bunch of people walked into the dungeon hall to check it. B.L.L, who was discussing tactics outside the dungeon hall, furrowed his eyebrows, who set a new record. Go take a look. One of his underlings promptly ran into the dungeon hall. After a while, the person ran back, an incredulous look on his face. Young Dean, it's Lin Moyu. He was the one who set a new record. What? B.L.L jumped up in surprise. Didn't Lin Moyu just enter the dungeon not long ago? How could he possibly have set a new record? Did he perhaps withdraw from the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon and went to another dungeon with a lower difficulty? B.L.L, unable to believe it, ran into the dungeon hall in person. At this time, there was a crowd in front of the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, each person filled with admiration. I knew it. Boss Lin was bound to set a new record on his second entry into the dungeon. Yeah, the second record is something that no one can make a dent into. Not necessarily. Maybe Boss Lin will break his record on his 3rd or 4th try. That's right. The only one who can break this record is Boss Lin himself. Everyone else needn't even try. B.L.L couldn't help but feel a pang in his heart. It was not a pleasant feeling. He hadn't expected Lin Moyu to actually set a new record in the Fire God's Palace Hall. The Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, that even their party of 12 could not clear, Lin Moyu cleared it by himself, and in such a short time. Was the gap really that large? The constant praise and admiration for Lin Moyu from the people around him became increasingly unpleasant and unbearable. B.L.L's face gradually became ferocious. He couldn't accept this result. The new record Lin Moyu created shone brightly above the dungeon, 1 hour, 12 minutes, 34 seconds. That was an extremely terrifying result, an unbreakable record. The nightmare rank record, that stood for 5 years, was more than 8 hours. Lin Moyu now set the new record, at Hell rank difficulty, 1 hour and 12 minutes. The divide between the two was like an unsurmountable chasm. This was also a testament to how high Lin Moyu's actual combat power was. It wasn't something that could be estimated based on level. At this time, the dungeon vortex flashed, and Lin Moyu appeared outside the dungeon. But the next moment, the dungeon vortex flashed once more. Lin Moyu entered the dungeon again. He reset the cooldown period and continued to grind. He had to raid the dungeon at least 15 times to collect the 3 fire crystal fragments. He just came out, yet he already went in. Boss Lin is really diligent. To grind by himself, isn't he tired? He won't even take a break. Maybe that's where the difference between Boss Lin and us lies. I remember that Boss Lin was like this before, carrying people through the Tyrant Desert dungeon, grinding without rest. Anyway, if there are any dungeon missions you can't clear in the future, you can try to find Boss Lin. There's no dungeon he can't clear. All the discussions revolved around Lin Moyu, all praising him. B.L.L Sheng didn't want to hear any more. Walking out of the dungeon hall, he felt a sense of disheartenment. His confidence took a serious blow. He couldn't recover momentarily. Full of confidence, he led a complete party of 12 over, fully prepared, ready to set a new dungeon record. But halfway through, he was forced to back down, his aspirations ending in failure. Lin Moyu put him in his place without effort. This silent comparison was even more uncomfortable than a direct slap in the face. He had a knot of frustration lodged firmly in his chest, unable to release it. B.L.L Sheng sighed in frustration, "Let's go back." After finishing speaking, without waiting for his underlings, he directly activated a teleportation stone and left the dungeon hall. Chapter 207. 2 Top Institutes, covered in boss accessories. The news that the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon had been upgraded to Hell rank difficulty spread like wildfire. The students from the various institutes were all eager to tackle the dungeon. After all, the legend of the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon had been around for many years, widely circulated among class users. Many were extremely curious about the dungeon, elemental fragments. Simultaneously, news of Lin Moyu setting a new dungeon record also spread. The record, slightly over an hour, made people lose any desire to compete. But that didn't matter. If not first place, there was still second or third. After all, Lin Moyu had created one miracle after another. Being overshadowed by him wasn't something to be ashamed of. It seemed that regarding any dungeon Lin Moyu tackled, others could only vie for second or third place. Anyway, as long as they ranked in the top 3, they were considered strong. When the various institutes were ready to take action, another piece of news came out. The B.L.L Institute dispatched a party, led by B.L.L Sheng himself, but then returned in defeat. B.L.L Sheng left the dungeon hall disheartened, looking utterly crushed. Despite how he usually conducted himself, B.L.L Sheng was still known for his strength. For him to fail was quite surprising. Some curious individuals investigated the details of the dungeon. From the members of the B.L.L Institute, they learned the specifics. The monsters were incredibly strong, similar to other Hell-ranked dungeons. The party didn't get far before being forced to retreat due to the relentless assault of the fire element. The key takeaway was the need for 1 support for status buffs and at least 5 Hell or so. With 4 it would be excessively hard to raid the dungeon. As for damage dealers, they had to be mages or physical class users of the wind, water, or lightning types. Fire-type damage dealers were useless. There were some changes from the nightmare rank difficulty, but nothing major. The main difference was the number of healers and the need for a very powerful knight as a tank. With this information, the institutes quickly mobilized, organizing parties to compete for second and third places. Lin Moyu, unaware of these developments, continued to do dungeon grinding. He had become very proficient and efficient. Now that he got the hang of it, Lin Moyu was not in a hurry, maintaining a steady speed rather than trying to beat the record a second time. After raiding the dungeon 3 more times, he finally collected enough fragments to complete his first fire crystal. When the 3 fire crystal fragments were placed together, they began to fuse automatically. Despite being crystals, when fusing together, they turned into liquid. It looked like bright red lava, filled with immense fire element. Though it should have been extremely hot. But in Lin Moyu's palm, it only felt warm. The fire element was restrained, hardly radiating outward. Once the fusion was complete, the resulting fire crystal was the size of an egg, looking like a flawless ruby, dazzling in its beauty. Fire crystal can be combined with other single-element elemental crystals to form an elemental divine stone, which in turn can increase the chances of class sublimation during the 3rd class awakening. The more elements are fused, the more formidable the divine stone's effect will be. At the same time, a fire crystal can be used by itself to permanently enhance fire resistance. However, once this option is used, it will no longer be possible to use a fire crystal to form an elemental god stone. As Bai Yiyuan and company had mentioned, the fire crystal could be combined with wind, water, lightning, and light-type crystals to form an elemental divine stone, which could greatly increase the chances of class sublimation during the third class awakening. But they weren't entirely right either. It wasn't necessary to gather all 5 types of crystals. Even just 2 crystals of different elements could form an elemental god stone, though the effect would be much weaker. Moreover, the upper limit wasn't just 5 single-element elemental crystals. It could be 6, 7 so long as he could find enough pure single-element elemental crystals. The key was purity. Crystals from the elemental secret realm, which were filled with many impurities, wouldn't work. The elemental secret realm was a place where multiple elements mixed, resulting in the loss of elemental purity. Lin Moyu contemplated, the common elements are wind, water, fire, and lightning, and they correspond to the most common elemental types for mage class users. In addition, there are light-type mages like Su Sheng, as well as shadow mages proficient at curses and control, but they actually use the dark element. Could there also be other elements? Lin Moyu meditated on this. He realized he would have to search for them slowly. Lost in thought, he left the dungeon. The dungeon hall was much quieter now. After 3 consecutive raids without setting a new record, people stopped paying as much attention. Lin Moyu found a relatively secluded place to rest. After 5 continuous raids and about 10 hours of constant fighting, he was physically and mentally drained. With the rise of his attributes, his endurance grew as well. He now only needed a short rest to recover. He was already level 28, 43%. After a few more raids, he would be able to level up. He gathered that by the time he collected 3 fire crystals, he would likely have reached level 30. Moments later, a strange energy fluctuation surged in the square outside the dungeon hall. Lin Moyu, who was resting, slowly opened his eyes and saw a group of people approaching. The entire square fell silent when the group of people appeared. That was boss accessory aura, and there was more than just one. Ning Yi carried a boss accessory, the Goblin King's ring, so Lin Moyu was familiar with the aura. But Ning Yi only had one such piece of accessory. As such, the aura wasn't very intense. But now there were at least 10 boss auras mixed together, making the aura much more intense. Lin Moyu was curious, wondering what kind of party had so many boss accessories. Even independent institutes would only have a few boss accessories at most, making it hard to equip an entire party. When the teleportation concluded, the crowd saw clearly the group's appearances. Although unfamiliar with the individuals themselves, but the crowd recognized their attire and emblem, prompting a burst of gasps. They're from the Chuangshi Institute. Why are people from a top institute here? That's really strange. They rarely show themselves, all mysterious and aloof. I've been at the academy for years and have barely seen them a few times. Reportedly, the top institutes are not located in the academy, so it is difficult to see them at the academy. Then why are they here now? Of the top 3 institutes of the Shaojing Academy, the Chuangshan Institute was naturally the strongest, uncontested year after year. Followed by Chuangshi Institute and Yanwang Institute, whose strength was comparable, making it hard to say which was stronger. In any case, compared to other institute students and ordinary students, students of the 3 top institutes were regarded as mysterious and powerful presences. The sudden arrival of the Chuangshi Institute's party drew much attention. They all seemed to have boss accessories. Goblin King's ring, Flame Worm's necklace, Wind Spirit's earrings. My goodness, even though it's just gold rank boss accessories, but they practically have full sets. I wish I could have just a single boss accessory. The voices were filled with envy. In the world, there were countless bosses and dungeons. Some dungeons dropped materials that could be made into special accessories, known as boss accessories, with incredible properties. For those under level 40, the best boss accessory was the Goblin King's ring, regardless of level. The Goblin King's ring could raise all skills by 1 level. This property alone made it the king of accessories for class users below level 40. Lin Moyu observed the group of people, 12 in total, including both men and women. Without saying a word, ignoring all the chatter, they went straight into the dungeon hall. Lin Moyu didn't pay them too much attention. Anyone who came to the dungeon hall did so to raid dungeons. Since he won't be able to meet them in the dungeon, it wasn't worth paying attention to them. Someone followed them into the dungeon hall, and then came out shouting. They went into the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. Lin Moyu's lips curled into a smile. It turned out they went to raid the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. That wasn't surprising. They should be after the legend. In the dungeon hall, there were the dungeons of the fire, wind, and water elements. If these dungeons, just like the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, could provide corresponding elemental crystals, then it would be possible to complete weaker elemental divine stones, which could aid in class sublimation during the third class awakening. At this time, boss accessory aura surged once more, and it was more intense than the previous one. Another group of class users teleported in. This group had even more boss accessories, causing another round of exclamations. Oh my god, the Yangwang Institute has also dispatched people. Chapter 208. How about I go faster? The arrival of the group from the Yangwang Institute created an even stronger impact than that of the Chuangxi Institute. Upon their arrival, they headed straight for the dungeon hall and quickly entered the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. The Chuangxi Institute and the Yangwang Institute are facing off again. No wonder. With the Chuangshan Institute being so dominant, these two institutes have no choice but to compete against each other for the second place. This time, I bet they are going to compete to see who clears the dungeon faster. No matter how hard they try, they can't break Boss Lin's record. With the Chuangshan Institute dominating the institutes and Boss Lin dominating the dungeons, they will always be fighting for second place. Ha 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 ha, everyone laughed. Lin Moyu was pondering the aura he sensed just now. Amid the various boss accessory auras, one peculiar aura caught his attention. It felt like a fire elemental monster. Fire elemental monsters were immune to fire elemental damage. This boss accessory seemed to have a similar effect. However, without seeing it firsthand, he couldn't be certain. And he got the chance, Lin Moyu planned to look up information on this boss accessory later. He knew very little about boss accessories, and Bai Yiyuan didn't seem keen on broaching this topic. Perhaps in the eyes of a godly powerhouse like Bai Yiyuan, low-level boss accessories were simply beneath them. Their requirements regarding equipment had reached another level. Unless it was legendary rank equipment, it wasn't worth taking notice. Lin Moyu meditated and rested for 3 hours, during which no one disturbed him. His depleted spirit force was fully restored, while his stamina was mostly recovered, the fatigue swept away. At this time, he felt the difference of 200 points in attributes. After taking the elementary magical draft, all his attributes were raised by 200 points. While this might seem insignificant compared to the attributes of the skeletons, but to Lin Moyu, it represented a 40% increase to other than his spirit. It was a substantial improvement. Enhanced physique meant a faster rate of recovery. Just like knights with thousands or even more than of 10,000 points in physique, who could fight for days without tiring. In any case, each class had its own advantages. There was no point being envious. Lin Moyu got up and walked back into the dungeon hall, then entered the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon again, still at hell rank difficulty. It had been over 2 hours since the two top institutes entered the dungeon, and they had yet to come out, their performance already better than that of the B.L.L. Institute. Whether it was the Chuangxi Institute's party or the Yangwang Institute's party, they both had a common characteristic, that is, they both discarded prophets. They opted for a configuration of a Battle King support and 4 healers. In this way, they essentially had 5 class users that could provide treatment. In addition, they had a knight and 6 damage dealers, significantly boosting the party's combat power. If they couldn't clear the dungeon with this arrangement, their boss accessories would be wasted on them. Lin Moyu's bone armor glimmered, blocking the surrounding flames. The dungeon was as blistering hot as ever. The moment the skeletal warriors emerged, they were engulfed in the fire element. They ignited within 2 seconds and turned into flaming skeletons. Lin Moyu proceeded to advance steadily, according to the previous tactic. Having raided the dungeon 5 times already, he was well acquainted with it. He knew what monsters were in each location and how many they were. Lin Moyu swept through the dungeon rapidly, collecting vast amounts of express and materials without missing any. After completing his 6th raid and exiting the dungeon, he instinctively glanced at the light screen above the dungeon. There was still only his name on the light screen. The parties of the 2 top institutes were slower than he expected. It had been over 3 hours since they entered. Lin Moyu looked at his name on the light screen and suddenly had a mischievous idea, how about I go faster? With this thought in mind, he chose hell rank difficulty again and entered the dungeon. Once inside the dungeon, 4 skeletal warriors rushed out. Lin Moyu was getting ready for a speedrun, tweaking certain aspects, all to forge a record that was exclusive to him. The skeletal warriors ran at lightning speed, quickly crossing the bridge, passing through the square, and running into the cavern. This time some monsters weren't attracted, but Lin Moyu didn't care. This time his aim was speed, not perfection. It was purely for fun. After all, Lin Moyu was just an 18-year-old young man. He was far from being as mature and taciturn as he appeared on the surface. At the same time, in the Godby courtyard, 3 people were watching the situation in the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. As the one in charge of the dungeon hall, Ning Taran could check the situation in any dungeon. He could even intervene if he wanted. On the screens, the parties from the Chuangshi Institute and Yunwang Institute were fighting the Fire God's Palace Gardener respectively, and it had been going on for quite some time. It looked like both sides were making similar progress. However, considering that the Yunwang Institute entered the dungeon a bit later, they were actually ahead. The 3 looked as if they were watching a movie. It seems like the Yunwang Institute is going to take the lead this time. Ning Taran uttered. His statement was right, all 3 could see it. Bai Yiyuan drank his tea, it's normal. This time, the Yunwang Institute is led by a Sacred Fire Knight. The Sacred Fire Knight has a very strong resistance to the fire element. Coupled with the Fire Worm's necklace, he is almost immune to fire damage. The Yunwang Institute's healers basically don't have to mind the knight. Sacred Fire Knight was a legendary class, and it naturally had access to a series of fire-related skills. It boasted a powerful resistance against the fire element, making it the best option for the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon, a dungeon that doled out powerful fire damage. Ning Taran added, not only that, but each of their damage dealers is equipped with an ice amulet, adding the power of water to their attacks. And water and fire counter each other. The power of water can enhance the damage they deal to fire-type monsters. Through their analysis, the 2 confirmed that the Yunwang Institute would come out on top. Meng Anwen said calmly, it's still too early to tell. However, no matter who wins, they won't be able to make a dent in the old man's Chuangshan Institute. The dungeon record will still be held by young Lin, they can take second place at best. Dungeon record of 1 hour and 12 minutes, this was unprecedented, and would likely never to be surpassed. There was a hint of pity in Meng Anwen's calm words. When the subject of Lin Moyu was broached, Ning Taran's mouth twitched slightly. The screens in front of them changed, and another scene appeared. That brat entered the dungeon. Bai Yiyuan laughed heartily. When he saw Lin Moyu, he immediately perked up, is this his first time raiding this dungeon? Ning Taran replied grumpily, it's his 7th. When he saw Lin Moyu's next move, he uttered, it seems a little different this time. Meng Anwen narrowed his eyes and took a glance, this time he's doing a speedrun. He's going to completely crush the others. You can't tell from his usual quiet demeanor, but he's actually up to no good. Old Bai, at this time, young Lin resembles you when you were young. Bai Yiyuan was very satisfied with Lin Moyu's approach, which indeed resembled his own in his youth, except he was more arrogant back then, not as restrained as Lin Moyu. Bai Yiyuan's smile grew brighter, it's good to knock them down a peg or two, so that they stop being so high and mighty and realize that there are always people better than them. That way, when young Lin joins the Chuangshi Institute, he won't get bullied. Ning Taran was taken aback, you plan to have him join the Chuangshi Institute. Normally, a top genius like Lin Moyu would join the Chuangshan Institute. Meng Anwen was also curious, wondering why Bai Yiyuan would say that. After all, Bai Yiyuan had previously told Lin Moyu about the conditions for joining the Chuangshan Institute. At that time, they all thought he would arrange for Lin Moyu to go to the Chuangshan Institute. However, after thinking about it a bit more, Meng Anwen understood the reason why. Bai Yiyuan asserted confidently, the old man already has a pupil. He must have already used up the resources he had accumulated. With no resources left, why send young Lin there? To pick through the leftovers. I know for a fact that the Chuangshi Institute still has some good stuff left, so of course he should go there. Ning Taran, aware of Lin Mohan's situation, found that Bai Yiyuan had a point. If there were no resources left, why go to the Chuangshan Institute? To learn things. Couldn't Bai Yiyuan teach him? Wasn't the whole point of going there for the resources? Ning Taran began considering whether Ning Yi should go there or not. On the screen, Lin Moyu was moving at high speed, running full tilt after the monsters. The skeletal warriors quickly crossed the cavern, reached the palace's entrance, and, ignoring the giant eye's alarm, rushed into the palace headlong. The monsters followed them into the palace. Lin Moyu was the last to enter. By the time he ran out from the other end of the palace, the skeletal warriors had already reached the garden, circling around, followed by over 200 monsters of different kinds. The palace gardener had already emerged from the lava. Bai Yiyuan's eyebrows twitched twice. The kid is playing quite the game. He sure was. From the dungeon entrance until here, it took less than half an hour, faster than any previous attempt. At this moment, 50 skeletal warriors appeared and targeted a flame lizard. Skill. Slowing curse. Under the red light, all the monsters slowed down. The skeletal warriors launched their assault at this time moment. They unleashed their skill, killing the flare lizard in an instant. Then came a series of explosions. Since the corpses were fresh, they generated powerful explosive force. After more than 30 consecutive explosions, the garden was a mess. Even the palace gardener, the leader monster, was killed. The 50 skeletons seized dozens of fresh palace guard corpses and then headed toward the boss. Chapter 209. Hooked on speedrunning, massive disparity. The bell of the dungeon hall rang again. The students outside the dungeon hall had grown accustomed to it. Needless to say, it is Lin Moyu again. There must be a new record for the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. Someone go check it out. He's been raiding the dungeon so many times, getting more skilled and faster each time. He might even be able to break the 1-hour mark. After the bell stopped ringing, someone got up. I'll go take a look. He went inside, but after a long time, he still hadn't come out. The people outside were puzzled. Did something happen? Why hasn't he come out yet? Not sure. Could it have been someone else than Boss Lin? I'll go check. Someone else went into the dungeon hall, but he didn't come out either, leaving the people outside even more curious about what was happening inside. Then, the crowd walked in. A batch of wooden stakes appeared at the entrance of the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. Some were frozen in place, others had their eyes wide open, none able to believe their eyes. Time: 38 minutes, 38 seconds. This time must have been deliberate. This time, is this really for a hell-rank dungeon? Even at ordinary rank difficulty, it wouldn't be this fast. I've been to the Fire God's Palace Hall before. Although this dungeon isn't big, but if you ran from one end to the other, it would still take about half an hour. Is it possible? Did Boss Lin just sprint from start to finish? No one could fathom how Lin Moyu cleared the dungeon. Following a slight fluctuation in space, Lin Moyu appeared outside the dungeon. Without caring about the reactions of the others, he re-entered the dungeon right away. He discovered that speedrunning was more efficient. Although the express was slightly less than during a comprehensive raid, but he still got about 80% of the express, while nearly doubling his speed. Using half the time to gain 80% of the express, anyone could understand this arithmetic. The only drawback was the fatigue from constantly running. Lin Moyu decided to continue using the speedrun method to level up, as it was clearly more efficient. The dungeon hall was filled with students, whose jaws were about to drop to the floor. In the Godbai courtyard, the mouths of Ning Taran and Bai Yiyuan twitched. Although Meng Anwen showed no reaction, but his twitching eyebrows revealed his inner turmoil. On two screens, the Chuangshi Institute and Yanwang Institute were still battling the lava giant, and it looked like the battle wouldn't end anytime soon. Meanwhile, Lin Moyu had already started a new speedrun. Bai Yiyuan muttered, "This kid isn't satisfied with taking the limelight outside, he even has to take the limelight back at the academy. Can't he be a bit more low-key?" Ning Taran glanced at him peevishly. "You were much more high-profile in your youth. Whenever you accomplished something, you wanted the entire world to know." Meng Anwen said, "This record, no one can break it." Bai Yiyuan slapped his thigh, a look of schadenfreude on his face. "That's natural. Don't you know whose student he is? When those kids from the two institutes come out, they'll probably end up crying. However, it's good to take a setback or two. It'll keep them humble." Ning Taran narrowed his eyes. Judging by the damage, it seems his skill's attack power is based on corpses. Being a godly powerhouse, he quickly discerned the root of Lin Moyu's skill. Bai Yiyuan made a sound of assent and said, "Indeed, and they have to be fresh corpses. Over time, the corpses will lose health, until they are rendered useless. There are also monsters like elemental sprites, which don't leave a corpse, they are also useless." Ning Taran said gravely, "Then when he reaches level 30, he can head to the level 35 Goblin Legion dungeon. The monsters there are plentiful, and they all leave corpses and provide pretty good express." Ning Taran knew all the dungeons in the dungeon hall like the back of his hand. Meng Anwen laughed, old Bai has already made arrangements. Ning Taran looked at Bai Yiyuan, you don't intend to let him level grind in the academy. Bai Yiyuan smiled and said, the academy is a greenhouse, the flowers it nurtures are too fragile. Then are you planning Ning Taran suddenly thought of something, are you planning to send him to that place? Bai Yiyuan nodded. Ning Taran's countenance changed greatly, are you insane? You only went there after the second class awakening, yet you want to throw the brat there when he's barely level 30. Bai Yiyuan said bluntly, he's already stronger than most level 40 high-level class users. Why shouldn't he go? Besides, as he's my student, I'll teach him as I see fit, it's none of your concern, old Ning. Ning Taran blew his top, fine, it's none of my concern. Do as you wish. Anyway, the brat won't actually die, and if dying once makes him open his eyes to reality, it won't be a bad thing. Bai Yiyuan snorted, don't worry, my student won't die. Lin Moyu continued his speedrun spree. With his previous experience, he was even faster this time. He had a bunch of monsters drawn to the palace gardener, followed by a bout of explosions, then had corpses dragged to the lava giant, followed by another bout of explosions. It looked like an operation lacking any finesse, but it was surprisingly effective. The dungeon hall's bell continued to ring. The initially shocked students had already come back to their senses. After being stimulated repeatedly, their nerves had become very resilient, and they had become immune to the bell's din. Even if they saw something extraordinary now, they wouldn't be too surprised. Another new record for the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon was set, 36 minutes, 58 seconds. That was more than a minute faster than the previous one. Lin Moyu didn't waste a second. After he came out of the dungeon, he re-entered it right away. He was so fast that if you weren't paying attention, you might think it was an illusion. While speedrunning, you shouldn't waste time. Finally, a large group of people emerged from the dungeon. The two rivals, the Chuangshi Institute and Yanwang Institute, exchanged glares. The knight leading the Yanwang Institute, called Sun Zheng, was in high spirits. He was clad in top gold rank equipment, with the necklace, earrings, and ring being boss accessories. The Goblin King's ring sparkled brightly on his finger. He looked at the Chuangshi Institute's party team and said with a smile, feeling pretty good at this time, we entered 2 minutes after you, but ended up coming out at the same time. We won this time. The people of the Chuangshi Institute showed no reaction at that, making Sun Zheng feel strange. Sun Zheng continued to say, Fan Zhaoye, you're not going to deny it, are you? Fan Zhaoye, the leader of the Chuangshi Institute's party, and Sun Zheng were old rivals. Fan Zhaoye smiled faintly, I won't deny it. However, there's a small detail you're missing. We spent a lot of time in the safe zone. I knew you were coming, so I prepared a surprise. Did you like it? At this time, Sun Zheng's complexion changed. He hadn't expected Fan Zhaoye to pull a move like that. The timer for a dungeon won't start until you leave the safe zone. They had been played. Sun Zheng snorted coldly, then let's look at the records and see who's ahead. Of course we have to look at the records. When the records are out, you won't be able to deny it, whether you like it or not. Fan Zhaoye was extremely confident, a calm and self-assured look on his face. The two lifted their heads and looked at the light screen. Then, simultaneously, their expressions froze, as if struck by a petrification spell. Their teammates, puzzled, looked up, then fell into a state of bewilderment. Lin Moyu, level 28, 36 minutes, 58 seconds. Lin Moyu's name shone brightly, the light so bright it nearly blinded them. They worked themselves to the bone, utterly exhausted. But guess what? Someone cleared it in 36 minutes and 58 seconds, all by themselves, and at level 28. Meanwhile, they were at least level 35, fully equipped with top gold rank equipment, as well as boss accessories, as lavish as it came. Regarding their results were out. Chuangshi Institute, 4 hours, 33 minutes, 26 seconds. Yanwang Institute, 4 hours, 33 minutes, 29 seconds. A difference of 3 seconds, the Chuangshi Institute came narrowly out on top. The Chuangshi Institute should have been happy, Fan Zhaoye should have been happy. But after seeing Lin Moyu's result, he couldn't bring himself to be happy. Of course, he had heard of Lin Moyu's name. It had spread all over the world the past few days. During the class user competition, Lin Moyu took first place in the level 20 grouping, in both the team competition and the individual competition. While in the unrestricted competition, he passed the 5th round, single-handedly defeating a mage team of 6 level 50 class users. Such results were something other class users wouldn't even dare to dream of. Even though they were students of the Chuangxi Institute and Yanwang Institute and prided themselves on being top geniuses, they all paled in comparison to Lin Moyu. The gap was just too large. This was no longer something hard work could bridge, but was a disparity on a fundamental level. Even if they were dissatisfied, they could only swallow it. Perhaps in the future, there would be a chance to turn the tables. But not now. The disparity turned out being much bigger than anticipated of 4+ hours versus 38 minutes, 12 people versus 1 person. Fan Zhaoye and Sun Zheng felt their faces burning with shame, and so did their teammates. Some geniuses they were. An entire party couldn't measure up to one person, and that person was nearly 10 levels below them. For the Chuangxi Institute, the joy of victory vanished, replaced by stinging embarrassment. People outside the dungeon hall were peeking at them, adding to the humiliation. Fan Zhaoye waved his hand, "Let's go." Sun Zheng also waved his hand, listless, "Let's go back to the institute." Chapter 210. Old fellow students, carrying through a mission. Both the Chuangxi Institute and Yanwang Institute failed. Even though they had cleared the dungeon, even though they had placed on the leaderboard, but for top institutes like theirs, it was considered a failure, a thorough defeat. The manner both sides departed was vividly described by people, and would likely soon spread throughout the Shajing Academy. Ha ha, look at them, even people from top academies are nothing special. When they came, they were so arrogant and insufferable, but when they left with their tails between their legs. In front of the dungeon hall, the crowd was discussing spiritedly. It was as if Lin Moyu's victory was their victory. At this time, independent institute students and ordinary students were united. Lin Moyu's reputation grew once again. However, as he was engrossed in speedrunning, he was completely unaware of what was happening outside. Every time he completed a raid, he wouldn't linger outside for more than a few seconds. He didn't even bother checking the results of the Chuangxi Institute and Yanwang Institute. There was no need to. Lin Moyu was pretty confident that no one could break his record for this dungeon. Even he found it difficult to break his own record. After raiding the dungeon 5 times in a row, another fire crystal was completed. Lin Moyu didn't rest. At this time, he was in high spirits, having a blast grinding. With the privileges granted by Ning Terran, he didn't have to worry about points. The entry and reset fees were reduced to 100 and 500 points respectively. To him, it was just a drop in the bucket. Speedrunning had very high efficiency, causing his express to soar. By the time the second fire crystal was fully completed, his express had reached 93%. Each raid basically increased his express by about 10%. He was only one raid away from reaching level 29. Let's keep pushing forward. Lin Moyu was excited, even thinking of pushing all the way to level 30. How many times is he going to raid the dungeon? Who knows? I've been counting, and he has raided it at least 8 times. It's more than that. Including the first time, he has raided it 10 times already. Is he a machine? If I had to raid the same dungeon 10 times in a row, I would feel like throwing up. That would depend on how much you stand to gain. This is a hell-ranked dungeon, with super high express. If I could gain that much from a dungeon, I would gladly raid it 100 or even 1000 times. Solo grinding meant all the express and materials went to one person. Amidst the discussions, Lin Moyu exited the dungeon once again. At this time, he had already reached level 29. In less than a day, he had leveled up from level 28 to level 29. If it were anyone else, it would normally take at least 1 month to level up. Lin Moyu, however, did it in a single day. After reaching level 29, the rate at which express rose decreased once again. It would take about 13 to 14 raids to reach level 30. Lin Moyu raided the dungeon 4 more times before the third fire crystal was completed. Before he leveled up, he used up all his spirit force to summon 3 skeletal warriors. Due to raiding the dungeon back-to-back, he didn't get the chance to recover his spirit force. Prior to leveling up, his spirit force was only enough to summon 3 skeletal warriors. After completing the third fire crystal, he summoned 7 more skeletal warriors. This swelled the number of skeletal warriors to 190, filling up his summon space. With his spirit force depleted, he finally felt fatigued. His body issued a warning. He realized he had to take a rest. After all, he was not a warrior. His restorative capacity wasn't that great. While the mind could still keep going, the body couldn't. He found a spot outside the dungeon hall and sat down to rest. While his body was exhausted, his mind was still energetic. There was no helping it. After all, speedrunning was just too exhilarating. Lin Moyu was somewhat addicted to this feeling. But he knew it wasn't right, and he shouldn't indulge in it. As a class user, especially a mage-type class user, you needed to remain calm and collected at all times. No matter what happened, only by staying composed, only then would you be able to make the most correct decision and display the greatest combat power. Hearing the distant murmurs, Lin Moyu listened intently. They were all talking about the Chuangshi Institute and Yonwang Institute. The people here were either ordinary students or independent institute students, and they both admired and envied top institute students, resulting in quite complicated emotions. Seeing them fail, for some reason, each one of them felt a certain pleasure. As his mind gradually calmed down, Lin Moyu worked hard to pull himself out of the addicted state, before finally entering a meditative state. His spirit force began to be restored rapidly. After an unknown period of time, someone approached him. Lin Moyu. A crisp voice sounded. Lin Moyu opened his eyes and showed a light smile. It's you guys. Xia Shui, Feng Shu, and Zuo Mei stood in front of him. Xia Shui said teasingly, "Congratulations, Champion Lin." "Congratulations, Lin Moyu." "Congratulations." Feng Shu and Zuo Mei also congratulated Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu got up. "How did you guys do in the class user competition?" He hadn't seen them in the class user competition. Xia Shui sighed. "Don't bring that up. We didn't even pass the pre-selection, got kicked out right away." Seeing their not-so-happy expressions, Lin Moyu didn't inquire further. Feng Shu said, "Actually, it's no big deal. After all, we just entered the academy, and are a cut below others in terms of levels and equipment. It's not surprising we were eliminated during the pre-selection." Xia Shui added, "So we came back early and went dungeon grinding." Zuo Mei uttered, "We're level 20 now." After a few days, they had reached level 20, showing they were working hard. They must have gone dungeon grinding quite a few times the past few days. Before level 20, leveling wasn't particularly slow. So long as there was a suitable dungeon, leveling up once a day wasn't strange. In particular, in the dungeon hall, spending points allowed for unlimited dungeon resets, bypassing the cooldown period. If you didn't fear getting tired, leveling could be done quite fast. Lin Moyu said, "You guys received the dungeon mission, haven't you?" "We have." Xia Shui waved her communicator. Every new student was given dungeon missions from the academy. Starting from level 20, up until level 30, there were 10 dungeons that needed to be cleared. The academy had no restrictions regarding difficulty, so clearing even normal rank difficulty was fine. Among the 10 missions, the only troublesome one was the Tyrant Desert, a large dungeon. The dungeon itself wasn't that hard, but the same couldn't be said about organizing a team of 40 people. Many got stuck at this step. It could be regarded as a test the academy set for the students. Lin Moyu said, "I'll carry you through the Tyrant Desert dungeon." Previously, Lin Moyu promised to carry them through the Tyrant Desert once they reached level 20. He planned to wait until he reached level 30 before contacting them. The Tyrant Desert dungeon was a level 25 dungeon, permitting access to class users within a 10-level range, from 5 levels below to 5 levels above the dungeon's level. Level 30 was the dungeon's upper limit. Now that they met, and they were level 20, it was the right time. Although Lin Moyu mentioned this before, but it was just a passing comment and wasn't taken seriously. Xia Shui was surprised. "That's a large dungeon, requiring a 40-person party. We can't find that many people." Since they were new students, they had few contacts, and their levels were quite low. Lin Moyu shook his head, "No need to look for anyone else. I'll carry you." The three looked surprised, realizing that Lin Moyu wasn't joking. He really could carry them. Feng Shu still found it hard to believe. "Can you solo a large dungeon?" Lin Moyu nodded confidently, then led the shocked group into the dungeon hall, to the entrance of the Tyrant Desert. When they saw Lin Moyu's result as 6 hours, 11 minutes, 33 seconds, the three were speechless. Not only did he go solo, but he also took first place, his result far better than that of the second place. Previously, they teamed up with others to raid the mutated forest dungeon, and they had seen Lin Moyu's name at the top of the leaderboard, and he had gone solo as well. But was a small dungeon the same as a large dungeon? Was a dungeon below level 20 the same as a level 25 dungeon? Everyone knew that the higher the level of the dungeon, the harder it was to solo it. This was surreal. Lin Moyu ignored their inner turmoil and directly formed a party with them. With him as the party leader, the four entered the Tyrant Desert dungeon. Yellow sand filled the view, and wind blew past, raising sand into the air. A scorching sun hung overhead, blazing down relentlessly. So this is the Tyrant Desert dungeon. It's really a desert, it's so hot. It's vast, boundless. There's sand wherever the eye can see, easy to get lost here. Which direction should we go? The three people, who entered the dungeon for the first time, looked around like curious little chicks. Having gotten used to the intense heat of the Fire God's Palace Hall, Lin Moyu found the temperature in the Tyrant Desert pleasant and comfortable. 190 skeletal warriors appeared in front of them and charged ahead like an army. There are monsters in the desert. Follow me. Chapter 211. I won't sell it, I'll give it to you for free. The three people were stupefied. Sha Shui knew that Lin Moyu had quite a few skeletons. He had shown them off when he carried her in the Shihai Mine dungeon. However, the current number was simply overwhelming. Moreover, each skeleton was immensely strong, bulldozing through any monster that crossed their path. Lin Moyu seemed to enjoy the thrill of speedrunning, not pausing once along the way. Fortunately, he was just a mage. Both Feng Shu and Zuo Mei could easily keep up with him. Only Sha Shui struggled a bit. So Lin Moyu had to slow down a little to accommodate her. Feng Shu ran alongside Lin Moyu. Do you always raid dungeons like this? Lin Moyu made a sound of assent, saying, it saves time. Feng Shu sighed, no wonder your leveling speed is so fast. Lin Moyu remarked, this isn't even the fastest. I can go faster. Even faster. Feng Shu had a hard time believing it. Wasn't this fast enough? They basically bulldozed through everything. Zuo Mei also looked shocked, unable to understand how it could get any faster. After running for over an hour, they finally reached the edge of the oasis. The skeletal warriors charged ahead, immediately attracting a large number of oasis scorpions. The skeletal warriors didn't stop but kept running along the oasis, drawing more and more oasis scorpions behind them. When they reached the ant colony, Lin Moyu's eyes lit up, you guys are really lucky. The three didn't understand why Lin Moyu said that. The skeletal warriors stopped and unleashed their skill, instantly killing a dozen plus oasis scorpions. Then, Lin Moyu caught up to them, raised his hand, and cast a skill. Skill, Corpse Explosion. The explosion sent sand flying everywhere, creating huge sandpits. Deafening explosions rose one after another. The three people's express skyrocketed, and a large amount of notifications flooded in. Feng Shu and Zuo Mei remembered the time of the Great Examination, when Lin Moyu used the same skill to kill a massive amount of monsters. Now the skill's power and range had increased significantly. After a series of explosions, the oasis scorpions were all dead. The skeletal warriors charged forward and dealt with the desert young ants at the entrance of the ant colony. We actually came across desert fruit. You guys are really lucky. Last time, Lin Moyu had to enter the dungeon multiple times to find desert fruit. But this time, while carrying them through a mission, they found desert fruit right away. It was a shame, but he didn't need to grind any skills at the moment. He planned to come back for desert fruit once he reached level 30 and learned new skills. He briefly explained the effects of desert fruit to them. The three were overjoyed. Regardless of the class, apart from skill cooldowns, the most troublesome aspect of grinding skills was spirit force consumption. Even an assassin-type class like that of Zuo Mei, which consumed a small amount of spirit force with each use of a skill, would still feel the pinch after using skills a certain number of times. Grinding skills was hard, therefore, places like the skill grinding center existed. But with desert fruit, you could ignore spirit force consumption and grind your skills freely. You stay here and grind your skills. I'll go take care of the monsters inside. With a thought from Lin Moyu, the skeletal warriors ran into the ant colony and started drawing the monsters in the colony. Lin Moyu followed the skeletons inside. The three people stayed behind and began using desert fruit to grind their skills. Soon, muffled booms came from the colony, and their express shot up like crazy, filling up the gauge by more than half. Feng Shu sighed, it would be great if leveling could always be like this. Zuo Mei rolled her eyes, what's the use of this kind of leveling? Without combat experience, you'll be no different from a flower in a greenhouse. Sha Shui smiled, though leveling this way is easy, we still need combat experience. Only by accumulating combat experience can we truly grow stronger. Otherwise, merely levels without combat experience is quite useless. Zhuo Mei agreed, exactly. Throughout history, no powerhouse has ever reached the summit without stepping over the corpses of abyssal demons. Feng Shu looked aggrieved, I was just saying it offhand. Why are you guys getting so worked up? Zhuo Mei snorted and continued grinding her skills. Such an opportunity was rare. They couldn't take the desert fruits with them. If they didn't seize this opportunity now, they might not get another in the future. Feng Shu said no more. Having come from a military family, he knew the importance of combat experience. However, watching Express rise rapidly was really exciting. An hour later, Lin Moyu emerged from the ant colony. The ants weren't all dead yet. At most, only half were blasted apart. Lin Moyu had used corpse explosion recklessly, whether there were living monsters around or not. When his spirit force was depleted, he went back outside and ate 2 desert fruits, before going back into the colony. With desert fruit and a large number of ants, it was a good opportunity to grind his corpse explosion skill, even though going back and forth was a bit troublesome. Soon, another series of booms came from the ant colony. An hour later, Lin Moyu returned again. He ate 3 more desert fruits, before heading back into the ant colony. Finally, Lin Moyu had reached the desert queen ant's chamber, having killed everything that could be killed outside the chamber. He released skeletal mages, and they swarmed into the queen ant's chamber. A total of 290 skeletons overwhelmed the queen ant. Lin Moyu didn't bother watching the process, since the outcome was a foregone conclusion. As expected, he soon received the notification that the queen ant had been killed. Lin Moyu returned to the ant colony's entrance and replenished his spirit force with desert fruits. The 3 people were still frantically grinding their skills. 3 hours had passed, and most of the majority of the desert fruits were gone. Lin Moyu rested nearby, waiting for them. They ground for 5 hours, before the desert fruits were finally all used up. The party then set out again, crossing the ant colony and entering the Lionman territory. Before long, the Lionman tyrant fell at the feet of the skeletal warriors. Dungeon mission completed. Lin Moyu stretched his body and yawned. Raiding this dungeon was too easy for him. He barely needed to give any commands. The skeletal warriors and skeletal mages by themselves were enough to sweep through the dungeon. Is it over already? Was this really a world rank boss? It doesn't seem that impressive. The 3 looked at the tyrant's corpse in disbelief. They already received the mission completion notification. This was the Academy's toughest dungeon mission, and it had stumped many students, yet it was now completed. The mission completion notification was real, the mission was indeed finished. Lin Moyu left the party, I need to do level grinding. Contact me if you need anything. Sha Shui replied, go ahead. Thank you, we're old fellow students, there's no need for thanks. Lin Moyu smiled and entered the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. After Lin Moyu left, Sha Shui said softly, he seems different now, not as cold as before. Compared to now, Lin Moyu used to speak much less. Feng Shu commented, remember the girl we saw with him? Maybe this is the power of love. Zhuo Mei snapped, love, my foot. Let's go do more dungeon grinding. Sha Shui giggled, no matter how he changes, he's still an old fellow student. Lin Moyu resumed his speedrunning. Although it wasn't as addictive as yesterday, it was still very enjoyable. Only he could fully grasp this feeling. After a smooth raid, he felt invigorated. He exited the dungeon and was ready to enter it again. Junior Lin, a gentle voice interrupted him. Shu Han stood in front of him and called out again, Junior Lin. Lin Moyu asked, is something the matter, senior? Lin Moyu had a good impression of Shu Han. Whether it was explaining things to him or selling him the extraordinary fatigue potion, she had given him quite a bit of help, even though it came with a price. Shu Han asked, Junior Lin, have you obtained any elemental fragments while raiding the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon? Elemental fragments, she must be referring to the fire crystal fragments. Lin Moyu nodded, I have. Shu Han showed a hint of embarrassment on her face and hesitated before speaking, Junior Lin, if you have extra elemental fragments, could you sell me one? I know it might be difficult, since elemental fragments are very rare. Before she could finish speaking, Lin Moyu had already handed her a fire crystal fragment, is this it? Shu Han nodded eagerly, yes, that's it. Can you sell it to me? I can't. Lin Moyu refused bluntly and put the fire crystal fragment away. Shu Han looked disappointed. Suddenly, a red light flashed before her eyes, and a gem the size of an egg appeared. It was a complete fire crystal. Take it, Lin Moyu smiled. To him, the fire crystal wasn't really precious. He could obtain one in about 5 raids, or 3 hours of work. However, to Shu Han, it was incredibly valuable. The parties from Chuangshi Institute and Yanwang Institute, 12 people per party, toiled for over 4 hours to obtain one fragment. 3 fragments were needed to form a complete fire crystal. Ah! Shu Han covered her mouth in shock, and her eyes went wide. It was such a precious item, yet he was giving it away for free. Lin Moyu placed the fire crystal in her hand. If you have fatigue potion in the future, remember to sell me some. Chapter 212. Unbeknownst, he had become rich. For Lin Moyu, the impact of the fatigue potion far outweighed that of fire crystal. Holding the fire crystal, Shu Han looked at the empty dungeon entrance, then suddenly revealed a brilliant smile. This guy is really interesting. Lin Moyu started speedrunning again. Another 8 raids, and he should be able to level up. This time he intended to power through and level up directly. Lin Moyu sprinted at top speed, his excitement building up. He enjoyed the sensation of speedrunning. If given the chance, he would adopt the same approach with other dungeons in the future. In the Godby courtyard, Meng Anwen leaned back in his chair, his eyes closed, his posture unchanged. In his palm, the Shengxia Tower's phantom was spinning round. The entire tower was glowing faintly. Bai Yiyuan stood by and watched, silent, waiting for the result. A moment later, the Shengxia Tower's phantom stopped spinning. Meng Anwen said softly, I've locked on the coordinates of the immemorial battlefield and found a relatively hidden location. Bai Yiyuan showed a smile. As expected, old Meng. You found it really quickly. Meng Anwen snorted, although the location I found is relatively secluded, it is not 100% safe. Are you sure you want to send him there? I'm sure. Without going through the storm, you can't see the rainbow. Young people should try things out. Who knows, maybe he'll come across some good opportunities. When he said this, Bai Yiyuan glanced at his left wrist. He was wearing a purple gold bracelet on his left wrist, which was obviously not an ordinary ornament but a special piece of equipment. To be worn by a godly powerhouse like Bai Yiyuan, the item must be of the highest grade. Meng Anwen said in a low voice, don't forget, you had a close call back in the day. You nearly didn't make it out. Bai Yiyuan waved his hand. Back then I hadn't left a brand in the Hall of Heroes. If I had died, I would be really dead. Young Lin is different, he won't really die. He'll just suffer a setback at most. Meng Anwen dropped the subject, it's your call. With a brand in the Hall of Heroes, resurrection was indeed possible, but the price would be steep. Not that Bai Yiyuan would have to pay any significant price. To him, the price of resurrecting Lin Moyu wasn't a big deal. After being resurrected, Lin Moyu would have to bear a considerable price, possibly unable to make any progress for several years. But a genius didn't have several years to waste. However, the opportunities in the immemorial battlefield were just too enticing. With a stroke of luck, Lin Moyu could very well rise to new heights. Bai Yiyuan hesitated a little. After thinking for a moment, he said in a deep voice, let's ask young Lin when he arrives. If he doesn't want to go, I won't force him. Explain things clearly and let him choose for himself. His life doesn't belong to you. He is your student, not your puppet. Meng Anwen said lightly, although his voice was flat, but his resolve was firm. Bai Yiyuan looked helpless. I know. Sheesh, you're growing more and more pesky as you get older. Lin Moyu speedran through the dungeon again and again, maintaining consistent efficiency throughout. He had completely mastered the rhythm, ensuring that each raid took around 37 minutes and 30 seconds, with a deviation of no more than 10 seconds. The lava giant fell once again at Lin Moyu's feet. 25 times. Lin Moyu said softly. He raided the dungeon 25 times, and killed the lava giant 25 times. Except for the first time, when he killed the normal way, all the other times were with the help of corpse explosion. By now, there were 4 ruby-like fire crystals quietly lying in his storage space. At this time, Lin Moyu was emitting pure white light. Level 30 at last. He clenched his fists tightly. Every 10 levels marked a great leap. Whether it was attributes or skills, they would undergo a qualitative change. That was particularly true for Lin Moyu. His skeletal warriors and skeletal mages were promoted from silver to gold rank, his attributes underwent significant change, his talent was upgraded from level 3 to level 4. The title's amplification was raised from 30 times to 40 times. Even if other skills remained unchanged, his strength would still be increased greatly. Outside the dungeon, the bell rang again. In this last raid, Lin Moyu accelerated once more, gathering the knowledge gained from the previous 24 raids. After raiding the dungeon 24 times in a row, he now possessed a thorough understanding of the dungeon. This time the speed was lightning fast. The time stopped at 33 minutes and 1 second, just a second shy of making the 33-minute mark. This was also Lin Moyu's final result in the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon. He reckoned he might not come back again in the future. Outside the dungeon, when the people saw this result, they couldn't help but gasp in amazement. It was too astonishing. Boss Lin is already level 30. It hasn't even been 2 days, yet he has already leveled up from level 28 to level 30. That's too fast. It took me 2 whole months to go from level 28 to level 30. Yet he only took 2 days, that's really discouraging. You were already quite fast. It took me 3 months. 4 months for me. Whether it was in terms of leveling speed or raiding speed, Lin Moyu had ruthlessly crushed everyone else. When it came to someone like Lin Moyu, ordinary people couldn't even muster envy. Apart from feeling admiration, all they could do was marvel. The gap was simply too big. Lin Moyu went straight into the Imperial Trade Office. The weapons dropped in the Fire God's Palace Hall dungeon were top-notch for specific classes. In the gold weapon grade, they were only slightly worse than the Hell Outpost set. But because the dungeon had been cleared by very few people, there was still no market price to refer to. Ning Yi also didn't need these weapons and equipment, as she already had a complete Hell Outpost set. At this moment, Lin Moyu's lazy nature struck again. He threw the weapons, equipment, and materials at the trade office, without even putting them up for consignment. A total of 25 gold rank weapons, 12 gold rank equipment, and a large pile of dungeon materials, they were exchanged for nearly 300 million gold coins. Lin Moyu now had over 500 million gold coins. He also had 540,000 points. That was enough to go on a shopping spree. Without batting an eye, he bought 200 elementary skill scrolls, at a price of 100,000 gold coins per scroll. Now that he was level 30, he needed to learn new skills. And he needed to learn as many elementary skills as possible, so as not to affect his skill learning after the second class awakening. If he used intermediate skill scrolls to awaken skills below level 40, that would be a great waste. He reckoned that 200 scrolls should be enough. If it wasn't enough, he could always buy Morea and thus only spend 20 million gold coins. He also looked at other things, but didn't find anything he needed. The potions in the trade office were not good enough. He would rather use military merit on recovery potion. As for fatigue potion, it wasn't listed in the trade office. After a while, Lin Moyu finally bought some more things. Advanced Dungeon Detection Talisman. One-time use consumable, can be used to detect the status of parties at each difficulty of a dungeon. Dungeon Tracking Scroll. One-time use consumable, allows you or your party to enter someone else's dungeon world, bypassing the restriction of the number of people in the dungeon. However, you can't attack any monsters in the dungeon, or else the scroll will fail automatically. Dungeon Escape Talisman. One-time use consumable, can be used to escape from a dungeon at any difficulty. Random Teleportation Stone. One-time use consumable, can be used to teleport to a random location within 100 kilometers. These items all had their use, and Lin Moyu bought a couple of each, spending another 30 million gold coins. All in all, he spent 50 million gold coins, just 1/10 of his total amount of gold coins. Unbeknownst, Lin Moyu had become rich. Next, Lin Moyu walked into the academic trade office. After looking around, he found nothing he needed. Whether it was the Imperial Trade Office or the Academic Trace Office, the best-selling items were equipment. Gold rank equipment cost millions or even upwards of 10 millions, platinum rank equipment started at 10 millions, with some reaching several hundred million. Lin Moyu had no need for equipment. He could get any equipment he wanted by raiding dungeons. He also didn't need to enchant and enhance equipment, saving him a lot of money. For Lin Moyu, the main purpose of gold coins and points was to buy skill scrolls and raid dungeons in the dungeon hall. At this time, his communicator rang. It was Bai Yiyan. "Teacher, do you have any instructions?" Lin Moyu got right to the point. Bai Yiyan said, "You're level 30. "Yes, I just reached level 30. Lin Moyu answered without hiding anything, nor did he inquire about how Bai Yiyan learned this. "Come over here." "Okay." Chapter 213. With a skilled hand, you can pull out the rug from under anyone. Lin Moyu arrived at the Godbai courtyard and respectfully saluted Bai Yiyuan, "Greetings, teacher." Subsequently, he saluted Meng Anwen and Ning Taran, "Greetings, Senior Meng, Senior Ning." Bai Yiyuan looked Lin Moyu up and down, "Not bad. In 2 days, you went from level 28 to level 30. Your speed isn't worse than mine back in the day." "Sheesh," Ning Taran sneered disdainfully. Meng Anwen spoke in a most placid tone, "It took you 18 days to go from level 28 to level 30. Bai Yiyuan's face fell immediately. "Old Meng, that's uncalled for. Talking big in front of your student is even more uncalled for." Meng Anwen's tone remained placid, showing no intention of giving Bai Yiyuan face. Bai Yiyuan waved his hand, "Forget it, I won't stoop to your level. You should first meditate and restore your energies to their peak." Upon hearing Bai Yiyuan's words, Lin Moyu stepped aside and quickly entered a meditative state. It had been a while since he exited the dungeon, and his mind had already settled down. In less than a minute, Lin Moyu entered a meditative state, and his energies were rapidly being restored. Bai Yiyuan gave Meng Anwen a sign with his eyes. Meng Anwen conjured the Shengxia Tower's phantom in his palm, and a ray of light shot out from the tower and enveloped Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu's brow unfurled, his entire body relaxed, and the rate at which his spirit force was restored increased. It was even more effective than the dimensional battlefield's military skill grinding site. In less than an hour, Lin Moyu was back to peak condition, his energies fully restored. In fact, they were not just restored, but even slightly exceeded their usual levels. This was all thanks to the ray of light released by the Shengxia Tower's phantom. Bai Yiyuan nodded in satisfaction, "Good, your energies are fully restored. Now you can use skill scrolls." When your energies were at their peak, the likelihood of you awakening a skill increased. Lin Moyu made a sound of assent and took out the skill scrolls he had prepared. At this moment, he noticed that Bai Yiyuan also take out a pile of skill scrolls. Bai Yiyuan asked strangely, "Why did you prepare skill scrolls?" Lin Moyu scratched his head, "I leveled up and needed to learn skills, so I bought some at the trade office." Ning Taran laughed heartily, "You're a lousy teacher. Young Lin, why don't you become my student? I can teach you better than this guy." Bai Yiyuan retorted grumpily, "Get lost. You think you can pull the rug out from under me, fat chance." Ning Taran responded brazenly, "With a skilled hand, you can pull out the rug from under anyone. Young Lin, think about it. I am Yi's grandfather. If you become my student Stop. Using your granddaughter as a bargaining chip, you really have no shame." Bai Yiyuan jumped up and shouted, fiercely, at Ning Taran. Then he turned to Lin Moyu, "Don't worry. If he dares oppose your relationship with Yi, I'll go and bring Yi to you as your wife myself." Ning Taran shouted angrily, "Just you try it. I'll burn your courtyard down." Lin Moyu was at a loss for words. To be able to talk so casually with one another, how many years had these two been friends? Meng Anwen cleared his throat, "All right, enough, you're not young men anymore, show some dignity." The two snorted and glared at each other, neither backing down. Meng Anwen asked, "How many skill scrolls have you prepared?" Lin Moyu answered honestly, "I prepared 200. Meng Anwen shook his head, "That's not quite enough. 200 scrolls wasn't enough." Lin Moyu trusted Meng Anwen's words, "Then I'll go buy some more." "No need, I've got everything ready," Bai Yiyuan said and waved his hand, and a large number of skill scrolls flew over, forming a small mountain. "There are 1,000 elementary skill scrolls here. Use these first. If it's not enough, then we'll get some more." Could this many scrolls possible not be enough? Lin Moyu was puzzled. At level 20, he had only used 16 scrolls. Could there really be so many skills to learn? Bai Yiyuan explained, "Don't think it's too many. Learning all skills is not an easy matter. To be frank, out of 10,000 class users, 9,999 are unable to learn all their elementary skills before reaching level 40. Others can use skill books, or learn skills from teachers, or gather materials and master skills on their own. As for you, yours is a new class. There are no skill books or materials available, so you can only rely on skill scrolls. Moreover, skill scrolls have limitations. The more you use them, the lesser the likelihood of awakening skills." "How many skills did you awaken with skill scrolls at level 10 and level 20? Lin Moyu answered, "I awakened 5 skills." Bai Yiyuan sighed in relief, a bit on the low end, but still acceptable. After all, unlike others, Lin Moyu had to use skill scrolls to awaken all skills. The property of skill scrolls is that the more you use them, the lower the chances of awakening skills. In addition, the more skills you had mastered, the higher the chances of awakening already mastered skills. As for others, they will first use skill books, materials, or the guidance of teachers to master most class skills, then use hundreds of elementary skill scrolls. By then, even if they can't master all skills, they can master at least 80% of the skills. Furthermore, the skills of most classes had already been mapped out, so people of these classes knew what skills they hadn't learned yet. As for Lin Moyu, he was in a fog. He didn't know how many skills he could master at level 30. Therefore, Bai Yiyuan couldn't guarantee that 1,200 elementary skill scrolls would be enough. Fortunately, there were plenty of elementary flash skill scrolls as backup. Use them 10 at a time. Don't hold back. If it's not enough, your teacher can get more. Bai Yiyuan reassured, patting his chest. Lin Moyu responded with a sound and began using skill scrolls. He released his spirit force and activated 10 elementary skill scrolls at the same time, and the scrolls emitted bright light that enveloped him. Moments later, the light faded, but nothing happened. This was normal and expected. Lin Moyu continued to activate scrolls batch after batch. After 5 consecutive batches of scrolls, there was still no sign of any new skills. Lin Moyu paused and looked at Bai Yiyuan, who was calmly drinking tea, seemingly unconcerned. Taking a deep breath, Lin Moyu continued to activate skill scrolls, which dissolved into specks of light. Finally, after the 10th batch, a change occurred. A myriad of silver lights appeared before Lin Moyu's eyes. He saw various weapons: blades, swords, rods, clubs, fist weapons, bows. Each weapon was shining brilliantly. The lights lasted for 2 minutes before fading. Acquired skill: Physical Resistance. Physical Resistance Level 1 Passive Skill. Increases resistance to physical attacks for host and summons by 10%. It was another passive skill, just like Elemental Resistance. After being buffed by Comprehensive Amplification, resistance to physical attacks would reach 400%, significantly reducing damage. It was a very useful survival skill. Lin Moyu felt a hint of happiness in his heart. He found Bai Yiyuan watching him. "What skill did you learn?" Bai Yiyuan asked calmly. Lin Moyu replied, "It's called Physical Resistance, a passive skill. It can reduce physical damage to me and my summons." Bai Yiyuan made an aha sound, "A defensive passive skill, very good. Continue. Now use 20 scrolls at a time." Lin Moyu nodded and began activating elementary skill scrolls 20 at a time. Now that he mastered a new skill, the difficulty of awakening skills would increase once again, and the exact increase would depend on luck. In any case, the probability would certainly drop significantly. This was a conclusion drawn from many years of experience. Lin Moyu realized he was lucky to have awakened 5 skills with so few scrolls at level 10 and level 20. Lin Moyu used elementary skill scrolls batch after batch at 200, 300. When it got to 400 scrolls, Bai Yiyuan said calmly, "Use 50 at a time now." Lin Moyu nodded, his spirit force surged, and he began using 50 scrolls at a time. The activation of skill scrolls required spirit force. Lin Moyu's spirit force was steadily decreasing. At this time, Meng Anwen sent out another ray of light, slowly restoring Lin Moyu's spirit force. Using 50 scrolls at a time proved effective. After 2 batches, when the total count of used scrolls reached 600, skill light appeared again. Lin Moyu saw a sky filled with red light, similar to when he awakened the slowing curse skill. A curse skill. Lin Moyu was delighted. Curse skills were highly useful. At this moment, Bai Yiyuan, Meng Anwen, and Ning Taran saw a different scene. In their eyes, Lin Moyu was enveloped in a red light. The aura coming from the red light made even them feel a sense of danger. Chapter 214. New Skills. Damage Curse, Bone Fangs, Summon Lich General. Acquired Skill. Damage Curse. Damage Curse Level 1 curses enemies within a range of 1 meter and increases the damage they receive by 1%, lasts for 1 minute. When he saw the skill, Lin Moyu's lips curved up. This skill was very powerful. Although it was currently only level 1, both its range and boost pitifully low. And even with Lin Moyu's talent, it wasn't particularly powerful. It could at most merely cancel out Prophet's defensive status buffs. But once the skill's level rose, the effect would be entirely different. Lin Moyu felt a surge of anticipation, eager to rush into the Tyrant Desert and search for desert fruit to max out the damage curse skill. When the red light faded, the first thing Lin Moyu saw were 3 pairs of eyes. This time it's damage curse, a skill that increases the damage enemies take. When they heard it, the 3 people instantly understood that it stood in contrast to defensive enhancement provided by supports. While Prophet's status buffs enhanced defense and reduced damage to allies, Lin Moyu's curse weakened the enemy's defense and increased the damage they took. Both slowing curse and damage curse had their uses and were very powerful skills. Bai Yiyuan had already noticed that the Necromancer class seemed to have no useless skills. Continue. 100 scrolls at a time. There were still 600 skill scrolls left. Lin Moyu nodded and carried on, activating a batch of 100 skill scrolls each time, releasing blinding light. First batch. Failure. Second batch. Failure. Third batch. Fourth batch. 4 consecutive attempts ended in failure. Bai Yiyuan frowned. Go with 200 at once. There were now 200 elementary skill scrolls left. Lin Moyu activated the skill scrolls without hesitation. Anyway, if they ran out, he could just buy more. If he had spent all his money, he could just earn more. 200 skill scrolls erupted with dazzling light that enveloped Lin Moyu. The light quickly dimmed. Failed again. Lin Moyu sighed inwardly. It wasn't just him. Bai Yiyuan was also disappointed. All of a sudden, he thought something was wrong. Lin Moyu quickly raised his head. Something's off. The light dimmed but didn't disappear. Instead, it turned black. Subsequently, Lin Moyu saw a beam of pure white light burst from the darkness. Like the first beam of light breaking through the darkness of the world, it burst forth and exploded, scattering countless specks of light. Acquired skill, Bone Fangs. Bone Fangs Level 1 releases Bone Fangs to attack enemies. The amount and power of Bone Fangs depends on the skill's level and the host's spirit force. A darkness-type offensive skill. No, Lin Moyu immediately dismissed the idea. Given his class's current state, the skill should belong to Bone type, not unlike Bone Armor. His current skills could be divided into Soul type, Summon type, Curse type, and Bone type. Completely different from Mage's Elemental type. Necromancer, though also a mage class, was fundamentally different. It had 4 types of skills, none of which was weak. Lin Moyu believed that Bone Fangs was definitely formidable as well. Moreover, the amount of fangs changed according to the level, indicating that Bone Fangs was a group offensive skill. Lin Moyu explained the skill. Bai Yiyuan pointed to the sky. Try it out. Lin Moyu nodded and released Bone Fangs. A low sound rang out as a row of Bone Fangs ejected out from Lin Moyu's hand, whizzed through the air, and pierced at the sky, before exploding in the air and releasing pure white light. There were 40 Bone Fangs in total, and they possessed seemingly impressive power. Bai Yiyuan looked at Meng Anwen. What do you think? Meng Anwen said, it has decent offensive power. What do you mean by decent? Meng Anwen rolled his eyes at him. The power of each fang is comparable to that of a level 30 maxed out state mage's fireball. Bai Yiyuan's eyes widened. That powerful. And it's still just level 1. To Meng Anwen, maxed out state meant not only having a complete set of buffs, but also satisfactory equipment, at least a full set of gold rank equipment, as well as having the skill maxed out to level 30. Meng Anwen shook his head. It's not the skill's power that's impressive, but young Lin's talent's amplification. Same difference. Bai Yiyuan waved his hand. That being said, if the skill is maxed out to level 30, its power will increase manifold. In theory, yes, Meng Anwen confirmed. Lin Moyu was aware that Bone Fangs, combined with his talent's amplification, had its power increased 40-fold. Not only did the power increase 40-fold, but the amount of fangs did also increase 40-fold. Otherwise, level 1 Bone Fangs would never have produced as many as 40 fangs. Lin Moyu was looking forward to seeing what it would become when its level increased. At least he now had an active group offensive skill and was no longer limited to the single target Soul Blaze. For a mage, having a variety of attack methods had many benefits. With the skill scrolls used up, Lin Moyu asked, Teacher, should I buy more elementary skill scrolls? Bai Yiyuan shook his head. No rush. Let's have old Meng check how many skills you have left to learn. Can that really be done? Lin Moyu had never heard of it. He lacked knowledge in this area. Bai Yiyuan smiled mysteriously. Others can't, but old Meng can. It's not 100% accurate. It's a rough estimate. Lin Moyu nodded. The methods of godly rank class users were beyond the understanding of ordinary people, and they naturally could do things that others couldn't. I'll have to trouble you, Senior Mang. Lin Moyu bowed respectfully to Meng Anwen. Meng Anwen smiled, and a cool breeze flew out from his fingertip. It looked like detection. Given Meng Anwen's level, he could see Lin Moyu's attributes directly, without needing to resort to detection. The cool breeze circled Lin Moyu, round and round. After a dozen plus turns, it returned to Meng Anwen's hand. Bai Yiyuan asked first, how is it? Meng Anwen shook his head, strange, the detection isn't clear. Seems like there are more left, but not many. Bai Yiyuan frowned, what do you mean by seems? Either there are or there are not. Meng Anwen sensed carefully once more, there should be 1 or 2 skills left. The answer still wasn't definite. Bai Yiyuan chose to trust Meng Anwen, use an elementary flash skill scroll. Lin Moyu nodded and took out an elementary flash skill scroll. The elementary flash skill scroll emitted bright golden light. The golden light sparkled outward like a fountain, looking very beautiful. Unlike ordinary scrolls, the scroll floated in midair and rotated slowly. Lin Moyu infused his spirit force and began to activate it. The scroll showed no signs of activity. Bai Yiyuan said, use more spirit force. This thing isn't easy to activate. Lin Moyu nodded and raised the amount of spirit force. As a massive supply of spirit force surged, the scroll's golden light grew brighter, turning blinding. There was a light pop sound, and the skill scroll finally exploded. Along with the explosion, the entire Godbai courtyard was bathed in golden light. The elementary flash skill scroll made a big splash. Within the golden light, Lin Moyu saw a peculiar scene. An orderly skeleton army marched ahead, skeletal warriors at the front, forming ranks. It was a grand spectacle. Skeletal mages followed next, elemental power pervading their hands, looking very imposing. Behind the skeleton army, there was an undead general, directing the skeleton army. Acquired skill, Summon Lich General. Summon Lich General Level 1 summons a Lich General, gathers skeletal warriors and skeletal mages to form an undead legion. The undead legion's size depends on the Summon Lich General skill's level. The undead legion belongs to the Lich General and doesn't occupy the summon space. If the Lich General dies, the undead legion returns to the summoner. With the emergence of this skill, an additional entry appeared in Lin Moyu's basic data, Undead Legion 0/10. After reading it several times, Lin Moyu started to understand the skill's specifics, and his body began to tremble. Bai Yiyuan noticed that something was off. What's the matter? Lin Moyu said, Teacher, it seems I have awakened a very powerful skill. Oh, tell me about it. After he heard Lin Moyu's explanation, Bai Yiyuan exclaimed, nearly jumping into the air. He was even more excited than Lin Moyu. Ning Taran's mouth twitched. This skill was absolutely abnormal. Meng Anwen sighed, truly an army of one. This class is incredibly powerful. Each Lich General could command a batch of skeletal warriors and skeletal mages, forming an undead legion, only occupying 1 undead legion slot. Lin Moyu could summon 10 Lich Generals, which was equivalent to 10 undead legions. As the skill's level rose, the number of summon slots for Lich Generals would grow. A level 30 Lich General could command 300 skeletons. With 10 undead legions, the number of skeletons would soar to 3,000. This was 10 times as much as before. Bai Yiyuan couldn't wait any longer. Hurry up and summon one so we can see. Lin Moyu made a sound of assent and prepared to summon it. All of a sudden, he shuddered and gave a bitter smile, I can't summon it. I don't have enough spirit force. He had consumed a lot of spirit force to activate the elementary flash skill scroll. At the moment, he only had 3,000 spirit force left, while summoning a Lich General required 4,000. Old Meng. Bai Yiyuan barked lightly. Meng Anwen pointed a finger at Lin Moyu, and a ray of light shot out and landed on him. Lin Moyu's spirit force was rapidly restored. When his spirit force reached 4,000, Lin Moyu activated the skill. Skill, Summon Lich General. An eerie wind began to blow, growing stronger, until it finally began to howl. At the same time, clouds covered the sky, and the sky turned dark. The skill created a huge commotion. Ning Taran furrowed his brow, his expression solemn. This skill can even affect the weather. It's like a forbidden spell. Bai Yiyuan and Meng Anwen were also startled by the skill's effect. In their line of sight, a towering Lich General, standing over 3 meters tall and wielding a white bone stave, appeared next to Lin Moyu. Despite being only level 1, the Lich General looked imposing and powerful. It looked exactly the same as the undead General Lin Moyu saw when he awakened the skill. Chapter 215. Leave, I don't feel like talking to you right now. The Lich General stood there imposingly, and unlike the skeletons, it wasn't purely composed of bones. It seemed to have flesh and blood, with a complete visage. But its visage looked ferocious and menacing. The Lich General was donned in armor, a massive stave in its hand. The stave was crowned by a skull burning with fierce white flames. The white flames emitted no heat. Instead, the surrounding temperature dropped by several degrees. It looked very strong and really eerie. Lin Moyu examined the Lich General's information. Iron Lich General, Level 1, Legion members, 0/10. Strength, 40, Agility, 40, Spirit, 40, Physique, 2000. Skill, Legion Enhancement Level 1. Legion Enhancement Level 1 increases attack power by 10%, increases attack speed by 10%, increases casting speed by 10%, increases physical defense by 10%, increases elemental defense by 10%, increases control resistance by 10%. Skill, Legion Heal. Legion Heal provides treatment to Legion members, effect depends on the skill's level. Skill, Nullify Level 1. Nullify Level 1 nullifies all abnormal statuses of Legion members, effective only for abnormal statuses below level 10. When he saw the Lich General's attributes, Lin Moyu was dumbfounded. Strength, Agility, and Spirit were just 40 points. Although it was only level 1, but these attributes were just too low. And this was after the talent's 40-fold amplification, indicating that its original attributes were only 1 point. It was weaker than the weakest level 1 monster. This didn't match its formidable appearance. Only its physique was high, starting at 50 points, reaching 2000 points after the amplification. It was as if all the attributes were converted to physique. This showed that the Lich General itself had no attack power and was not designed for combat. Not only did Lin Moyu notice its attributes, Bai Yiyuan and the other two also noticed them, nearly spitting out their tea in surprise. What bizarre attributes! With just 1 point in attributes, what can it do? It couldn't even beat a rabbit. Physique is decent, but what's the use? Is it supposed to be a tank? Ning Taran and Bai Yiyuan were quite confused. They could see the pre-amplification attributes, but couldn't see the skills. Meng Anwen was the calmest of the bunch. As a level 30 skill, it cannot be useless. There must be something special about it. At this moment, the calm Lin Moyu couldn't help but get excited, clenching his fists. Finally it's here. The biggest flaw of the skeletons was their susceptibility to control. Once restrained, they were just sitting ducks. But now, with the Nullify skill, Lich General could remove all abnormal statuses from Legion members. According to Lin Moyu's understanding, this also included control and curse statuses. Additionally, it had healing and comprehensive enhancement, making it a versatile support unit. At this moment, Lin Moyu thought of the Legion Overlord he had seen before. The two were remarkably similar. Meng Anwen noticed Lin Moyu's expression and said, "Looks like this skill is extraordinary." Bai Yiyuan also noticed it. With Lin Moyu's nature, an ordinary skill wouldn't excite him that much. Indeed, it's not ordinary. With such a high spirit force requirement, there's no way it would be ordinary. Ning Taran said, "Young Lin, let us see what makes it special." Lin Moyu nodded and summoned 10 skeletal warriors, and then had them join the Lich General's command. At the same time, the skeleton count in the summon space was lowered by 10, while the Lich General's Legion members increased to 10 out of 10. The level 1 Lich General could only have 10 Legion members. Lin Moyu willed, and the Lich General used a skill. Skill, Legion Enhancement. With a booming sound, numerous rings appeared around the skeletal warriors, each of a slightly different shape, emitting an eerie white glow. Status buffs. The three were surprised to find that this summon was a support type. Support-type summons were not unheard of. However, to be able to form a legion and engage in large-scale battles like Lin Moyu's summon, it was indeed a first. Skill, Legion Heal. Another eerie white glow emanated from the skeletons. Ning Taran raised an eyebrow. It can heal as well. The light changed, transforming into countless specks of light. Skill, Nullify. This time they couldn't discern the skill's effect, so Bai Yiyuan asked, "What skill is this?" "It dispels all abnormal statuses. But for now, the skill's level is not high enough, so it can only dispel statuses below level 10. This meant that if a level 11 class user used a level 11 control skill, it couldn't be nullified. Meng Anwen remarked softly, combining enhancement, healing, and dispel control into one, isn't this basically Legion Overlord? Ning Terran thought for a moment, indeed, it's similar to Legion Overlord. It doesn't need to participate in combat, so it doesn't require strong attack power. Ha ha, Bai Yiyuan laughed, excellent skill, a truly excellent skill. In his view, each of Lin Moyu's skills was more outstanding than the previous. The Necromancer class showed no signs of weakening. Lin Moyu was acutely aware that, by this stage, even without the comprehensive amplification talent, as long as he maxed out the Summon Lich General skill and summoned 10 Lich Generals, he would be able to form a fully fledged undead army. With an army composed of 3,000 skeletons, combined with his curses and other skills, it would be enough to crush practically all other class users of the same level. At this stage, calling Necromancer the strongest in the same level was no exaggeration at all. It truly deserved the title of unique class. If the talent, the 40-fold amplification, was added into the mix, challenging opponents of higher levels would be as easy as pie. Ning Terran said grumpily to Bai Yiyuan, "You're lucky to find such a good student." Bai Yiyuan chuckled, "What, are you jealous?" Ning Terran snorted and paid him no more attention. Bai Yiyuan, feeling triumphant, said, "Try again, see if there are any other skills." Lin Moyu took out his last elementary flash skill scroll. Meng Anwen proceeded to help Lin Moyu restore spirit force. Subsequently, Lin Moyu infused a copious amount of spirit force, and golden light enveloped the Godbai courtyard. Moments later, the light dissipated, but no new skill was awakened. At this point, Lin Moyu had already learned all his skills below level 40. With active and passive skills combined, he had learned a total of 12 skills. Although, compared to other classes, it might be considered few, but each one was highly useful, not a single one a junk skill. Unlike many other classes, which always had a few junk skills. Even with the high standards of someone like Bai Yiyuan, the Necromancer class was still an exceedingly perfect class. Bai Yiyuan looked at Lin Moyu and asked, "What do you plan to do next?" Lin Moyu replied, "Teacher, didn't you say you have a mission for me?" Bai Yiyuan laughed, "There's no rush. Tell me your plans first." Bai Yiyuan originally intended to send Lin Moyu to the immemorial battlefield after he reached level 30. But now that he had seen Lin Moyu's skills, he decided to hold off for a bit. Lin Moyu said, "I plan to go to the Tyrant Desert Dungeon to see if I can find desert fruit." This answer aligned with Bai Yiyuan's thoughts. Meng Anwen remarked, "Your Summon Lich General skill will be hard to grind. Even if you find desert fruit, you still may not be able to max it out." With a consumption of 4,000 points of spirit force per use, it was indeed hard to grind this skill. Even with a complete Hell Outpost set, Lin Moyu's spirit force barely crossed the 7,000 mark. He couldn't even use the skill twice at a time. Moreover, as the skill's level rose, the requirements would also increase, making it challenging to grind the skill. If one batch of desert fruit wasn't enough, then 2, 3. Meng Anwen continued, "What about after level 30? After level 30, he wouldn't be able to enter the Tyrant Desert Dungeon nor get desert fruit." Lin Moyu thought for a moment, "My class seems to have a hidden feature." "What feature?" Bai Yiyuan asked eagerly. The class was already this perfect, yet it still had a hidden feature. Lin Moyu said, "Once my skills are ground to match my level, whenever I level up, their level will rise as well." The three were stunned. At this time, even Meng Anwen couldn't remain calm. This feature, it was beyond incredible. For others, skill grinding was a grueling task, with each increase in level requiring an extensive grinding period. Moreover, the higher the level, the harder it was to grind skills. In particular, at the level of Ning Terran and Bai Yiyuan, raising the level of skills was incredibly though. But for Lin Moyu, once his skills were ground to match his level, whenever he leveled up, their level would rise as well. The three people exchanged looks. Bai Yiyuan, recalling his arduous days of skill grinding, felt his ego bruised. He waved his hand and shooed Lin Moyu away, "Leave, I don't feel like talking to you right now." Ning Terran also said, "Get out of here quickly. Disappear from our sight." Meng Anwen smiled and said, "Okay, take your leave first. Let these two old fellows cool off." Lin Moyu left in a daze and headed for the dungeon hall, and then entered the Tyrant Desert. Chapter 216. Desert Fruit, Rare and Elusive. Although Ning Terran drove Lin Moyu away, but he still gave him some accommodation, changing the entry fee and reset fee of the Tyrant Desert Dungeon to 100 points and 200 points respectively. It now only cost 300 points to raid the dungeon once. Lin Moyu came this time solely to search for desert fruit, not for dungeon grinding. So he didn't plan to kill monsters en masse. He only used 10 skeletal warriors to clear the way ahead. Furthermore, he kept a certain distance from the oasis, not getting too close. He was clad in a Hell Outpost set, which was much better than the silver rank spirit set. Hell Outpost Magical Sword, a part of the Outpost set gold rank weapon, all attributes plus 500, increases the power of mage type skills by 50%, usable after level 30. Hell Outpost Magical Robe, a part of the Outpost set gold rank protective equipment, all attributes plus 300, reduces the consumption of mage type skills by 20%, usable after level 30. Hell Outpost Ring, a part of the Outpost set gold rank accessory, all attributes plus 100, increases the recovery of fatigue by 30%, usable after level 30. Hell Outpost Bracelet, a part of the Outpost set gold rank accessory, all attributes plus 200, increases the restoration of spirit force by 30%, usable after level 30. Hell Outpost Necklace, a part of the Outpost set gold rank accessory, all attributes plus 400, reduces the probability of being restrained by 20%, usable after level 30. Set effect. All attributes plus 1000, reduces the consumption of mage type skills by 25%, increases the power of mage type skills by 25%. The set consisted of 5 pieces of equipment, which together increased all attributes by 1500 points, plus an additional 1000 points from the set effect, for a total of 2500 points. In addition, the Dragonkin Slayer title increased all attributes by 500 points. Lin Moyu received a total boost of 3000 points to all attributes. Unfortunately, the equipment's amplifications of mage-type skills didn't apply to Lin Moyu. Only the title's 50% reduction in skill consumption was effective. Even so, Lin Moyu's stamina, endurance, and running speed were raised significantly. The distance that previously took over an hour to run now only took less than 40 minutes. Seeing that there were no desert fruits on the cacti, Lin Moyu exited the dungeon decisively. He reset the dungeon and entered again. Second time, third time. Lin Moyu entered the dungeon repeatedly, searching for desert fruit. His repetitive actions drew a lot of attention. Some people didn't get it, but the smart ones quickly figured it out. Boss Lin is looking for desert fruit. Using desert fruit to grind skills is indeed effective, but this repeated entry and resetting of the dungeon, how many points will it cost? 2500 points per raid. That means 10 raids cost 25,000 points, 100 times cost 250,000 points. Perhaps only Boss Lin has such deep pockets. I wouldn't dare to spend that much. It's hard to earn points. I'd rather grind my skills slowly. That's the difference between you and a big shot. They didn't know that Ning Taran gave Lin Moyu some accommodation. Lin Moyu only needed to pay 300 points per raid. But even if it were 2,500 points, Lin Moyu would still choose to do so. After all, grinding skills little by little was too slow. In particular, after experiencing the convenience brought by desert fruit, it wasn't even worth consideration. Even the military skill grinding site paled in comparison to desert fruit. Time and again, Lin Moyu went into the dungeon, only to be disappointed. He once again tasted the bitterness of rare and elusive. Last time, when he carried Sha Shui and the other two through the dungeon, as if in a stroke of luck, he came across the fruit right away. Now, his luck appeared to have run out. He couldn't seem to come across the fruit no matter what. Lin Moyu didn't give up. On the 13th try, he saw desert fruit once again. That was 13 raids, each taking more than 40 minutes, totaling more than 8 hours. He had practically no rest in between, working non-stop. Even with his greatly increased attributes, he was still tired. But fortunately, desert fruit appeared at last. Lin Moyu had the skeletal warriors clear out the young ants around the desert fruits, and then began to do skill grinding. Among the 3 new active skills he recently awakened, Summon Lich General was the most difficult to grind, so he put it on the back burner for the time being. He started with the simpler one, Bone Fangs. Bone Fangs shot out from Lin Moyu's fingertips. Pale light diffused from his fingertips, forming a total of 40 Bone Fangs that whistled toward the mountain where the ant colony was located. When the Bone Fangs landed on the mountain, they caused a series of rumbling sounds, and rocks shattered and rolled down. With the talent's 40-fold amplification, despite being only level 1, Bone Fangs possessed considerable power. Lin Moyu cast Bone Fangs 10 times all at once. A large crater was smashed into the mountain, and the rocks that tumbled down formed a mound on the ground. Then Lin Moyu targeted the mound, which exploded into fragments. At level 1, Bone Fangs consumed very little spirit force, only 10 points. Thanks to the title's effect, which reduced consumption by half, the skill only cost 5 points of spirit force to be cast. With Lin Moyu's current 7,000 points of spirit force, he could cast the skill more than 1,000 times each time. Every time his spirit force was half depleted, Lin Moyu would eat a desert fruit. Thus, the booming sounds rose without stop. Bone Fangs quickly rose to level 2. At level 2, the number of Bone Fangs doubled from 40 to 80, and their power increased. Lin Moyu stopped targeting the mountain. By this time, the massive amount of falling rocks had blocked the ant colony's entrance. If he continued, the mountain could collapse. Subsequently, dazzling white Bone Fangs shot into the sky, where they exploded into a myriad of sparks. At a glance, the white light of the pale Bone Fangs and holy white light looked similar. But their properties were entirely opposite. The white light of the pale Bone Fangs emitted no warmth, only extreme coldness. Lin Moyu ate desert fruits one after another, rapidly raising the level of his skill. The skill's consumption increased meanwhile. By the time it reached level 10, the skill's consumption reached 50 points of spirit force. Even with the 50% reduction, it still cost 25 points of spirit force. The rate at which Lin Moyu ingested desert fruits promptly increased. Outside the dungeon, seeing that Lin Moyu hadn't come out for a long time, people guessed that he must have found desert fruit. Effort pays off. I kept track, it took Boss Lin 13 tries before finally encountering desert fruit. That's more than 30,000 points for a batch of desert fruits. I wonder if it was worth it. For Boss Lin, it was definitely worth it. I wonder what new skills he has awakened. He must be more powerful than before. I think so too. The news of Lin Moyu using desert fruit to grind skills quickly disseminated. At the B.L.L. Institute, B.L.L. Sheng seethed with hatred. He gritted his teeth, cursing Lin Moyu. Some classes get weaker as they progress. I hope yours is one of them. One day, I'll make you pay. At this time, the person who hated Lin Moyu the most in the academy was B.L.L. Sheng. Lin Moyu not only snatched away Ning Yi, but also made him lose face. Having grown up pampered, he couldn't stomach the humiliation. Other people received the news as well. Shu Han sat face to face with a middle-aged man, a fire crystal the size of an egg emitting beautiful light, more dazzling than a ruby placed on the table between them. Shu Han smiled, "Brother, this is the elemental fragment of legend. Actually, since it came from the fire god's palace hall, it should be called fire fragment. Only by gathering 3 fire fragments, only then can you obtain a fire crystal." The middle-aged man picked up the fire crystal and examined it carefully. Legends are often inaccurate. However, the fire crystal is indeed a good thing, and it can be used to create an elemental divine stone. Unfortunately, elemental crystals are hard to come by. It isn't something that can be purchased with money. Han, where did you get it? Shu Han smiled gently, "A friend gave it to me. Don't worry about it. If I get the chance, I'll figure out a way to get the other elemental crystals too." She extended her hand, "Brother, give me some fatigue potion." The middle-aged man smiled, "Fine, fine, I won't ask. What do you need fatigue potion for? I have a use for it. Will you give it to me or not?" Shu Han acted cute. All right, there's no way I could refuse you." The middle-aged man's eyes showed a shade of doting affection, clearly very fond of Shu Han. In the dungeon, the desert fruits were nearly gone. Lin Moyu's fingertips flashed with white light. Skill, Bone Fangs. White light exploded in front of him, and 1,200 Bone Fangs shot into the sky with a snap and burst into specks of light. When the desert fruits were nearly all gone, Bone Fangs finally leveled up and reached level 30. From this point on, its level would rise along with Lin Moyu's level. At level 30, Bone Fangs fired 1,200 fangs each time, and the fangs were much more powerful than at level 1. Lin Moyu felt that this skill was more powerful than skeletal mages of the same level. It was also an active group skill, filling another gap in his repertoire. With the single target active skill Soul Blaze and the group skill Bone Fangs, he felt confident even without the skeletons. Looking at the remaining 2 or 3 desert fruits, Lin Moyu's palm flashed red. The sky turned a dark red in an instant. Skill. Damage Curse. The damage curse's light was a deep red, like coagulated blood. It was a shade of red that could make others feel uneasy. Lin Moyu began to grind his second skill. Chapter 217. Feeling Abnormal Restriction, the Makings of a Godly Powerhouse. After 8 hours of continuous running, there followed 3+ hours of skill grinding. Lin Moyu went an entire 12 hours without taking a single break. When he exited the dungeon, a bright and beautiful face appeared in his line of sight. Shu Han stood in front of Lin Moyu, a beaming smile on her face. "You're finally out. I've been waiting for you for a long time." "Senior Shu Han, is something the matter?" Lin Moyu asked softly. Shu Han smiled. "Why? Can't I come to you for no reason?" Lin Moyu didn't expect the usually elegant Shu Han to say such a thing out of the blue. He remained silent, simply watching her. Shu Han spread her hands. "Just kidding. Here you go." Shu Han handed him the fatigue potion, a total of 10 bottles. Lin Moyu needed the fatigue potion and so accepted the bottles without hesitation. He wanted to give Shu Han some points in return, but then she shook her head. Shu Han uttered, "No points needed. It's a gift." "But the potion is expensive." Lin Moyu knew how precious the fatigue potion was. Shu Han showed a hint of displeasure. "Tell me, are we friends or not?" Lin Moyu nodded almost right away. "Of course we are friends." "Then it's settled. Take the bottles. When you run out, let me know. I'll find a way to get you more. But don't rely on it too much. It's not good for your body." "Alright, I won't disturb you anymore. Go ahead and look for desert fruit." When she finished speaking, Shu Han turned and walked away. Lin Moyu accepted the potion and murmured, "I've gained a friend." Previously, he had 5 bottles of fatigue potion left, and now he gained 10 more. After drinking 1 bottle initially, Lin Moyu hadn't had another since. This thing was hard to come by, and he saved it whenever possible. But now, Lin Moyu tilted his head back and drank a bottle. He felt as if he were immersed in warm spring water, his fatigue dissipating quickly. The effect of fatigue potion was quite miraculous. 1 bottle could keep him going for 2 days and nights without feeling tired. Lin Moyu entered the dungeon again and started running, resuming his repetitive and tedious dungeon adventure. After raiding the dungeon 5 times in a row, luck was on his side, and Lin Moyu encountered desert fruit again. The dungeon was filled with red light, the dark red glow nearly changing the color of the entire desert. The unique droning of the curse skill rose incessantly. The curse skill had a higher requirement for spirit force than the bone fang skill, resulting in an increased expenditure of desert fruit. By the time the desert fruits were all used up, damage curse reached level 26. Lin Moyu proceeded to raid the dungeon once again. Based on the current estimate, in order to max out the Summon Lich General skill, I will need to find desert fruit at least 10 times. Assuming 10 dungeon runs yield 1 batch of the fruit, I will have to raid the dungeon at least 100 times. And each dungeon run takes 40 minutes. Lin Moyu sighed deeply. For the past few days, he just stayed in the dungeon hall, not going anywhere. But there was no other way around it. If he didn't grind his skills now, it would be even harder later. For a better tomorrow, let's give it my all today. Luck remained on his side. After the 6th entry into the dungeon, he encountered desert fruit again, quickly raising the level of damage curse to level 30. Damage curse level 30 curses enemies within a range of 25 meters and increases the damage they receive by 25%, lasts for 1 minute. The increase of the damage curse skill wasn't as pronounced as that of slow curse, and the same was true for the range. Each subsequent level only raised the range by 0.5 meters and the damage increased by 0.5%. With the comprehensive amplification talent, the curse's range reached 1000 meters, and damage was raised to 1000%. This was more than enough. Finally, it's time for the most difficult part. Lin Moyu took a deep breath and cast Summon Lich General. Summoning 1 Lich General cost 4000 points of spirit force. Including his equipment, Lin Moyu had a total of 7000 points of spirit force at his disposal. He was basically forced to ingest a desert fruit each time a Lich General was summoned. Lin Moyu stuffed desert fruits into his mouth continuously. Nevertheless, the rate at which his spirit force was restored couldn't keep up with the rate at which it was consumed. Even though desert fruit tasted good, eating too much of it would still make him feel sick of it. Without desert fruit, this skill would drive many people mad. Lin Moyu thought to himself. In addition to maxing out the skill, he also needed to fill the ranks of the undead legions. The entire process was extremely demanding. In the Godbai courtyard, Bai Yiyuan watched as Lin Moyu entered and exited the dungeon repeatedly. 7 days had passed, and Lin Moyu hadn't taken a break once. When he felt too tired, he would drink a bottle of fatigue potion. He had already consumed 4 bottles of fatigue potion. Bai Yiyuan continued to observe Lin Moyu. The more he watched, the more satisfied he was. Such perseverance, truly remarkable. Meng Anwen echoed the sentiment, perseverance is sometimes more important than talent. Young Lin has both talent and perseverance, and that's a rare combination. Ning Taran snorted, you got lucky, that's all. You found yourself a gem. Bai Yiyuan was very pleased and, for once, didn't refute. Instead, he personally poured Ning Taran a cup of tea. Your granddaughter is also pretty good. She has a keen eye. Ning Taran snorted lightly, then took the tea and said nothing more. There was no need for words. Meng Anwen said, young Lin's sister is also very hardworking, with formidable talent. Ning Taran uttered, anyone the old man takes a liking to can't be too bad. 2 geniuses in one family, that's really something else. Perhaps, both siblings have the chance to become godly class users. Bai Yiyuan smiled meaningfully. Godly powerhouses. The difficulty of grinding Summon Lich General far exceeded Lin Moyu's expectations. As the skills level rose, the spirit force requirement rose accordingly. Lin Moyu's initial estimates were repeatedly overturned. 10 batches of desert fruit were far from enough. Lin Moyu's determination intensified, showing no intention of turning back before reaching his goal. He had gone 8 days without rest, relying entirely on fatigue potion. During those 8 days, he encountered desert fruit 20 times. When the Summon Lich General skill reached level 29, each summon required 6,800 points of spirit force. And that was with the Dragonkin Slayer title's 50% reduction in skill consumption taken into account. Without the title's help, it would require 13,600 points of spirit force to summon a Lich General. Regarding this requirement, Lin Moyu could only meet it after reaching level 40, after completing the 2nd class awakening and becoming a high-level class user. Without the Dragonkin Slayer title, level 1 Summon Lich General alone would require 8,000 points of spirit force. Under that circumstance, even with the full Hell Outpost set, it still wouldn't be enough to summon a Lich General. Lin Moyu would have to reach level 32 to be qualified to summon a level 1 Lich General. By that time, he would have completely lost the opportunity to enter the Tyrant Desert to look for desert fruit. Therefore, Li Moyu would say that this basically wasn't a skill that a person could grind. As he was running, Lin Moyu felt that something was off. Why would a class skill have such high requirements? This was unreasonable. It was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him, restricting him. He had felt this way when he awakened the Summon Skeletal Mage skill before. Now this feeling was even more pronounced. Fortunately, he had the Hell Outpost set, as well as the Dragonkin Slayer title. Under these almost impossible conditions, by relying on the miraculous desert fruit, he forcibly ground the Summon Lich General skill to level 30. When he saw the skill upgrade notification, he lay down in the desert in A section, shape, and then fell into a deep sleep the next second. Strange, why hasn't Boss Lin come out yet? Yeah, did something happen to Boss Lin? To Boss Lin? Are you joking? He was probably just tired and fell asleep in the dungeon. In the past 10 days, Lin Moyu had entered the dungeon at least 200 times. People had witnessed this with their own eyes, and they were in complete awe. At least 200 dungeon runs, without a break. It was beyond shocking. No one could imagine the level of perseverance it required. Lin Moyu, however, quietly saw it through to the end. Seeing Lin Moyu fall asleep on the ground, Bai Yiyuan's eyes suffused with concern. Meng Anwen said softly, don't worry, he's just tired and has fallen asleep. Ning Taran said solemnly, the kid is stronger than you. Bai Yiyuan retorted, he's also stronger than you. Neither of the two was willing to concede. At this moment, Meng Anwen's eyes showed a shade of admiration. Lin Moyu's performance was truly outstanding. He remained calm when necessary, kept a low profile when needed. When it was time to shine, he could shock the world without saying a word. Meng Anwen saw that Lin Moyu's display could no longer be described by astonishing perseverance, but by dogged obsession. Coupled with his class, Lin Moyu had the prerequisites to become a godly powerhouse. Lin Moyu slept deeply. The unchanging temperature and the soft sand in the dungeon made his sleep very comfortable. By the time he woke up, the fatigue was gone. The effect of the fatigue potion had also worn off completely. When he checked his communicator, Lin Moyu nearly jumped up in shock. He had slept 47 hours straight, nearly 2 whole days and nights. Am I a pig? How could I have slept this much? No, even pigs don't sleep this much. During the sleep, Lin Moyu's spirit force was fully restored. The remaining dozen-plus desert fruits shouldn't be wasted. Moreover, there was still one task Lin Moyu needed to complete. Now that he was done grinding his skills, only the last step remained, that is, he had to establish his undead legions. While he was level 30, he could still get desert fruit, a miraculous ingredient for quickly restoring spirit force. He had to seize this opportunity to form his undead legions. Skill: Summon Lich General. 7,000 points of spirit force were consumed just like that. At level 30, the skill consumed 7,000 points of spirit force per use. With 7,000 spirit force consumed instantly, Lin Moyu was ready and promptly put a desert fruit into his mouth. The fruit burst, and its juice, which he was already sick of, turned into a warm current that surged to the top of his head. Under this soothing sensation, his spirit force was quickly restored. Lin Moyu checked the properties of the level 30 Lich General. Gold Lich General, level 30, Legion members, 0.03. Strength, 4,000, Agility, 4,000, Spirit, 4,000, Physique, 100,000. Skill: Legion Enhancement level 3. Legion Enhancement level 3 increases attack power by 30%, increases attack speed by 30%, increases casting speed by 30%, increases physical defense by 30%, increases elemental defense by 30%, increases control resistance by 30%. Skill: Legion Heal level 3. Legion Heal level 3 provides treatment to Legion members, effect depends on the skill's level. Skill: Nullify level 3. Nullify level 3 nullifies all abnormal statuses of Legion members, only effective for abnormal statuses below level 60. Chapter 218, I never want to eat desert fruit again. After reaching level 30, the attributes of Lich General had become even more extreme. Strength, Agility, and Spirit were only 4,000 each, with the basic attributes before the amplification being merely 100. These did not match the imposing appearance and golden rank status. In contrast to the other 3 weak attributes, Physique reached 100,000, far higher than that of Skeletal Warrior and Skeletal Mage. With 100,000 points in Physique, it possessed tremendous health and defense, making it hard to kill. Moreover, its heal skill could also be used to heal itself. Even if it was killed, it didn't matter. Its undead legion wouldn't collapse because of that. The skeletons would all return to Lin Moyu's command. At which point, he could summon another Lich General to quickly reform the undead legion. As the commander of undead legions, Lich General shed its attack capability. But in exchange, it gained extremely powerful support abilities, combining enhancement, healing, and dispel control into one. Moreover, all the skills were Legion-type group skills. Level 30 Lich General could command 300 subordinates. And Lin Moyu could summon 10 Lich Generals, which represented 10 undead legions. That was a total of 3,000 skeletons, capable of receiving status buffs, healing, and dispel control. Just thinking about it made Lin Moyu excited. His combat power would increase many times over. Furthermore, after he reached level 30, Skeletal Warrior and Skeletal Mage also leveled up, jumping from silver rank to gold rank, and their combat power was greatly upgraded. Gold Skeletal Warrior, level 30, Strength, 40,000. Agility, 40,000. Spirit, 40,000. Physique, 40,000. Skill, Berserk Strike level 3. Berserk Strike level 3 deals 400% of the skill user's strength as damage, cooldown period of 10 minutes. Gold Skeletal Warrior, level 30, Strength, 16,000. Agility, 16,000. Spirit, 80,000. Physique, 16,000. Skill, Skeletal Warrior's attributes reached 40,000, and its skill was further enhanced. Skeletal Mage's skills remained unchanged, but the Spirit attribute reached 80,000, greatly increasing the skill's power. Lin Moyu decided to form undead legions with 200 Skeletal Warriors and 100 Skeletal Mages. With Lich General's support, it was hard to accurately estimate the combat power they could achieve. Lin Moyu thought about these things while munching on desert fruits. At some point, he had summoned all 10 Lich Generals. Next, Lin Moyu summoned 10 Skeletal Warriors and willed. Subsequently, he willed it, and his summon space was instantly emptied. At the same time, a Lich General's undead legion count changed to 300 300s. 200 skeletal warriors and 100 skeletal mages formed the first undead legion. Lin Moyu willed it, and the Lich General released a skill. A deafening sound echoed, and huge pale white rings of light appeared on the skeletons, and their auras rose sharply. Feeling excited, Lin Moyu stored away this Lich General. The entire undead legion disappeared in an instant. It was quite useful. With one undead legion formed, the second and third undead legions would follow. The formation of undead legions still hinged on spirit force and desert fruit. Lin Moyu proceeded to raid the dungeon once again, searching for desert fruit. Hey, Boss Lin is out again. Ah, Boss Lin went in again. People exclaimed. Boss Lin was resting in the dungeon, that's all. I'm curious, what skill is Boss Lin grinding, that it needs so many desert fruits? After over 200 dungeon runs, he should have encountered desert fruit a number of times. Any skill should be maxed out by now. They had no idea how difficult it was for Lin Moyu to grind his skill. Now that the skill was maxed out, it was time to form undead legions. It was another great project. Lin Moyu had made up his mind. If he didn't take this opportunity to form the undead legions now, who knows when he would be able to do it in the future. Ning Taran sighed, this kid is too strict with himself. Bai Yiyuan said solemnly, strictness is good. If you're strict with yourself, you can also be strict with others. We humans have survived till now by going through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Killing intent surged. Among the three people present, whether it was Bai Yiyuan or Ning Taran, they were each at the summit when it came to killing. By merely training at home and raiding dungeons, you could never dream to reach their level. For the next few days, Lin Moyu raided the dungeon repeatedly, and the undead legions quickly took shape. Whenever he was tired, he would drink a bottle of fatigue potion. Thanks to Lin Moyu's frantic efforts, the undead legions were finally fully formed. Not only did he fill the 10 undead legions, but also fill his summon space. At this time, Lin Moyu had 3,300 skeletons, 2,200 skeletal warriors and 1,100 skeletal mages, under his command. Looking at the fruits of his labor, Lin Moyu felt that it was well worth the hardship and exhaustion. The difference between level 29 and level 30 was enormous, so large in fact that even Lin Moyu himself found it hard to believe. Lin Moyu left the dungeon, this time for good. He didn't want to return ever again. Throughout these days, Lin Moyu lost the count of how many desert fruits he had eaten. Now, the mere thought of desert fruit made his stomach queasy. Lin Moyu suppressed the queasy feeling, I never want to eat desert fruit again. Standing outside the dungeon, Lin Moyu checked his properties. At this time, in the level 30 maxed out state, this was the strongest he had ever been since becoming a class user. Name, Lin Moyu. Class, Necromancer Unique. Level, 30 11.00%. Title, Dragonkin Slayer. All attributes plus 500, reduces the consumption of all skills by 50%. Strength, 1000 plus 3000. Agility, 1000 plus 3000. Spirit, 4000 plus 3000. Physique, 1000 plus 3000. Equipment, Hell Outpost Magical Sword, Hell Outpost Magical Robe, Hell Outpost Ring, Hell Outpost Bracelet, Hell Outpost Necklace. Summon Space, 300 300ths, Skeletal Warriors 190, Skeletal Mages 100. Undead Legions, 10 out of 10. Talent, Comprehensive Amplification Level 4, Unique. Passive Skills, Damage Transfer, Elemental Resistance Level 1, Physical Resistance Level 1. Active Skills, Soul Blaze Level 30, Corpse Explosion Level 4, Bone Armor Level 30, Bone Fangs Level 30, Summon Skeletal Warrior Level 30, Summon Skeletal Mage Level 30, Summon Lich General Level 30, Slow Curse Level 30, Damage Curse Level 30. Comprehensive Amplification Level 4 enhances the effects of all skills by 40 times. Damage Transfer, all damage taken by the host will be borne by the summons. Elemental Resistance Level 1 Passive Skill, increases resistance to elemental attacks for host and summons by 10%. Physical Resistance Level 1 Passive Skill, increases resistance to physical attacks for host and summons by 10%. Soul Blaze Level 30 deals damage to target's soul, its power depends on the host's spirit force and the skill's level. Corpse Explosion Level 4 detonate a corpse and deal 25% of the corpse's health as damage to enemies within a radius of 4 meters. Bone Armor Level 30 summons an armor of bones that provides 3000 points of physical defense for 5 minutes, the skill can also be used on others. Bone Fangs Level 30 releases Bone Fangs to attack enemies. The amount and power of Bone Fangs depends on the skill's level and the host's spirit force. Summon Skeletal Warrior Level 30 summons a gold skeletal warrior. Summon Skeletal Mage Level 30 summons a gold skeletal mage. Summon Lich General Level 30 summons a gold Lich General. Gather skeletal warriors and skeletal mages to form an undead legion. Slow Curse Level 30 curses enemies within a range of 150 meters and reduces their speed by 150%, lasts for 1 minute. Damage Curse Level 30 curses enemies within a range of 25 meters and increases the damage they receive by 25%, lasts for 1 minute. Except for Boss Accessory, Lin Moyu had everything he should have. Among class users, only a handful could boast owning an Hell Outpost set. Looking at his attributes and skills, a strong sense of satisfaction filled Lin Moyu. He wanted to find a dungeon to test the Undead Legion's power. But in the end, he decided against it. He had already been delayed for too long. Bai Yiyuan was still waiting for him. Lin Moyu checked his communicator. It had been about half a month with no news from Ning Yi. He had no idea where she went. Perhaps I can ask Senior Ning. When he returned to the Bai God courtyard, Lin Moyu found that Ning Taran was no longer there. Teacher, I'm back. Hello, Senior Meng. Lin Moyu greeted Bai Yiyuan and Meng Anwen respectfully. Meng Anwen shot a beam of white light from his fingertip, which landed on Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt as if he were being bathed in the warmth of a spring breeze, and his fatigue quickly dissipated. Unlike the effect of fatigue potion, this was genuine recovery. Bai Yiyuan asked, "You must have been exhausted these days." "I'm still fine." Lin Moyu could sense Bai Yiyuan's concern and couldn't help but smile. "Sit down, have some tea, and take a break," Bai Yiyuan said lightly. He was naturally aware of what Lin Moyu had gone through these days. He had been watching almost the entire time and knew how Lin Moyu had pushed himself. This level of resolve was startling, even to him. Lin Moyu sat down as instructed, served tea to Bai Yiyuan and Meng Anwen, and then poured himself a cup. Bai Yiyuan asked, "Earlier, I mentioned that I wanted to take you somewhere. Do you want to know where?" Lin Moyu shook his head, "I'll know when I get there." This response was very typical of Lin Moyu. "Let me tell you about the place, and then you can decide if you want to go or not," Bai Yiyuan uttered. Chapter 219, Danger and Opportunity Go Hand in Hand. Since Bai Yiyuan had something to say, Lin Moyu listened attentively. It is called the Immemorial Battlefield, and it is a very dangerous place. However, danger and opportunity go hand in hand. No one knows the exact origin of the Immemorial Battlefield. At least, I don't know, and neither does old Meng. Meng Anwen shot him a glance, wondering why he was being dragged into this. Bai Yiyuan ignored the other party and went on to say, the Immemorial Battlefield is divided into 3 parts. At this point, a ball of light appeared in Bai Yiyuan's palm, and the light gradually morphed into a 3-dimensional map. The map depicted 2 floating continents, with a giant black hole in the middle, resembling a vortex at the entrance of a dungeon. This is the map of the Immemorial Battlefield. It can be divided into 3 layers. The upper layer, the lower layer, and the deep layer. Each layer is interconnected yet independent. They depend on each other but do not interfere with each other. In short, it's a very peculiar relationship. I want to take you to the upper layer. People above level 70 can't enter the upper layer. They usually stay in the lower layer. Conversely, people below level 70 can't enter the lower layer. However, between the upper and lower layers, there's a very small chance that a spatial passage might appear. When that happens, the rules are broken, and occasionally someone from the lower layer can come up to the upper layer. But they can only stay in the upper layer for a very short time, no more than an hour. Bai Yiyuan explained in great detail, which was out of character for his usually carefree personality. Lin Moyu listened carefully, not missing a single detail. Meng Anwen's frown deepened, and he finally couldn't help but interject, "You might as well be starting from the beginning of time. You've been talking for so long, yet you haven't gotten to the main point yet. Why are you rambling so much today? Did you take the wrong medicine?" Bai Yiyuan realized he had indeed been too long-winded. This really wasn't like him. To be fair, he didn't know how to teach students. In the past, he had always been blunt, just giving a rough outline. Now that he was trying to be detailed, he found himself at a loss. How about you take over? Bai Yiyuan asked Meng Anwen for help. Meng Anwen sighed. Legend has it that in ancient times, humans, abyssal demons, and Dragonkin fought a great war. The immemorial battlefield was formed during that time. That great war was of unprecedented intensity, shattering the fabric of space and severing the threads of time. Within the immemorial battlefield, there lay miraculous objects, powerhouses, and souls from that era. Their wills endured through the ages, gradually giving rise to various monsters, danger zones, secret realms, and dungeons. Where there is danger, there is also opportunity. If your luck is good, you can obtain miraculous objects and have various special opportunities that stem from ancient times. Apart from us human class users, there are also abyssal demons and Dragonkin active in the immemorial battlefield. Therefore, the danger not only stems from ancient times, but also from other races. Now, do you understand? Bai Yiyuan added, you must be wary not only of other races, but also of fellow humans. Race doesn't matter in the face of interests. Bai Yiyuan told a verbose tale, while Meng Anwen added the finishing touches. If Lin Moyu still didn't understand, he would either be an idiot or a fool. In summary, the upper layer of the immemorial battlefield belonged to those below level 70. Occasionally, when a spatial channel was opened, those above level 70 might enter the upper layer for a short time. In the immemorial battlefield, you must be mindful of remnants of ancient times and other races. When encountered on the battlefield, they were mortal enemies, with no room for reasoning. On the battlefield, various unexpected events could happen, including dungeons materializing out of the blue and drawing people inside. Such dungeons had no level restriction, and so a level 40 character might be drawn into a level 60 dungeon, at hell rank difficulty to boot, leading to a gruesome death. Therefore, carrying dungeon escape talismans on your person was a must. On the flip side, the battlefield was replete with opportunities. Not only ancient miraculous objects, but also unexpected items could be found there. Rumor had it that there were skills unattainable by human class users that came from there. Some people even directly awakened their talent on the battlefield, and it wasn't during a class awakening. In the immemorial battlefield, anything was possible. I understand, Lin Moyu said softly, feeling intrigued by this place. Bai Yiyuan cleared his throat. Now, let me tell you the most important thing. Why I want you to go to the immemorial battlefield. In the central region of the upper layer, there's a secret realm, called the Divine Selection Secret Realm. By clearing this secret realm, you can obtain a trace of divinity. Divinity plays a crucial role, and one of its functions is to increase the likelihood of class sublimation during class awakening. With the blackened soul crystal that you have, coupled with my arrangements, the probability of you achieving class sublimation will be raised to at most 70% to 80%. Although it's not low, but it's still not a sure thing. If you can obtain divinity, it will grow stronger as your level rises, increasing the probability to at least 99%. Additionally, there is a dungeon in the upper layer called the Demonic Dragon Hall, which appears at random. Whether you can encounter it or not will depend on your luck. If you find it, choose Hell rank difficulty and clear it. You will be able to get a Dragon Crystal. With the Dragon Crystal, you will have a chance to awaken a talent, and it doesn't have to be during the second class awakening. You can try using the Dragon Crystal. If it doesn't work, you can use the Mermaid's Tears to help you awaken a talent during the second class awakening. Lin Moyu asked, Teacher, what is the level of the Demonic Dragon Hall dungeon? Bai Yiyuan replied, sometimes it's level 35, other times it's level 50. It is said that people have even seen a level 65 Demonic Dragon Hall dungeon. It's hard to say. When I entered the dungeon, it was level 40, and I was level 45. Although it was hard, I still managed to clear it. Bai Yiyuan spoke with some pride. To be able to solo a level 40 Hell rank dungeon at level 45, it was indeed something to be proud of. After all, class users generally couldn't solo Hell rank dungeons. Meng Anwen remarked flatly, thinking about young Lin's dungeon records, aren't you embarrassed? Bai Yiyuan had an annoyed look on his face, can you stop always pulling the rug from under my feet? Meng Anwen chuckled, the truth hurts. Bai Yiyuan shouted, Old Meng, I won't let this slide. What, are you going to fight me? Meng Anwen didn't back down. This bickering between these two old friends seemed to be an established practice, and Lin Moyu found it endearing. After a while, Bai Yiyuan asked, so, will you go to the immemorial battlefield? Lin Moyu didn't hesitate. I will. Not going to such a place would be absurd. The divinity, in particular, Lin Moyu had to secure it. Bai Yiyuan placed great importance on class sublimation. Mo Yun even restrained her level for a year, all to look for blackened soul crystal. This shows just how important class sublimation was to class users. Lin Moyu wondered how much stronger his class would get if it were to undergo sublimation. And then there was the dragon crystal, with which he would have a chance to directly awaken a talent. Bai Yiyuan previously mentioned that if it were his first time awakening a talent, using mermaid's tears and various other arrangements, Lin Moyu would have a 90% chance of awakening a talent. But if it were the second time, the probability would drop significantly, probably not even reaching 30%. Lin Moyu wondered whether the talent given by the system counted as him awakening a talent for the first time. But with Dragon Crystal, regardless of whether it counted or not, he would still have a chance of awakening another talent. If he got the opportunity, he had to obtain it. Teacher, did you awaken a talent by relying on Dragon Crystal back in the day? Lin Moyu asked. Bai Yiyuan laughed out loud. Yes, I used Dragon Crystal to awaken my second talent. And it's a very powerful talent. Bai Yiyuan plastered a smug expression on his face, looking like he wanted Lin Moyu to ask for more details, but Lin Moyu didn't. Among class users, there were certain guidelines you had to observe. It was best not to probe too deeply into certain matters. This got Bai Yiyuan feeling frustrated. He quietly took out a bunch of shiny golden talismans, of different kinds, each fully functional. Judging by the shimmering gloss, not a single one was of the elementary grade. Here you go. Bai Yiyuan handed the talismans to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu accepted them and then checked them. Advanced Dungeon Escape Talisman. Advanced Cooldown Talisman. Advanced Random Teleportation Talisman. Advanced Puppet Talisman. ... Teacher, this is... Lin Moyu was puzzled, wondering why the other party would give these to him. Bai Yiyuan explained, the Advanced Cooldown Talisman is not a gift, but a loan. Return it to me when you come back. This thing isn't easy to produce. In the future, you'll have to take care of it yourself. The other items are for keeping you safe. Advanced Puppet Talisman can protect you from fatal damage once. But, you'll only have 3 such talismans, so use them sparingly. As for the other 2, they are for escaping. Keep them in your pockets. Otherwise, if you enter a dungeon, and the storage space is inaccessible, you'll be in trouble. Bai Yiyuan appeared to be quite uneasy, repeatedly advising Lin Moyu to stay safe. It was clear that sending Lin Moyu there so early made him a bit anxious. But the earlier you obtained divinity, the better. He trusted in Lin Moyu's strength and thus decided to send him to the immemorial battlefield at level 30. The Shengxia Tower's phantom appeared in Meng Anwen's palm, and it swiftly flew into the air and then expanded. Get ready to go, Meng Anwen barked lightly. A ray of light fell on Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu disappeared without a trace in an instant. After sending Lin Moyu off, Bai Yiyuan said in a deep voice, send me to the first fortress. Meng Anwen understood Bai Yiyuan's intentions. In the first fortress's Hall of Heroes, Lin Moyu left his brand there, allowing for his condition to be monitored to a certain degree. Understanding Bai Yiyuan's thoughts, Meng Anwen sent him to the first fortress without further comment. The God-Bai courtyard became quiet once again. The Shengxia Tower's phantom disappeared, and Meng Anwen closed his eyes once more. At this moment, the wind stopped, and the sounds ceased. Everything fell into quiet stillness. Chapter 220. Desolate Immemorial Battlefield, Abyssal Blade Demon Apers again. The immemorial battlefield wasn't pitch dark. There was light, coming from an unknown source, casting various colors that swirled and intertwined in the air, eventually forming a unique hue. It was somewhat dim and reddish, reminiscent of the fiery clouds at sunset, but darker. There were no stars, no sun, no moon. Only this inexplicable light illuminated the earth. The air was filled with a complex scent. There's the smell of blood as well as the scent of souls. The wind carried sounds of screams, roars, deranged laughter. These were sounds from the previous era, lingering until now. In Lin Moyu's palm, Soul Blaze ignited and released crackling sounds that soon faded, burning lingering soul intent to nothing. This place is strange. Lin Moyu donned the bone armor. He didn't dare to be careless. The bone armor, with its base physique of 3,000 points, coupled with the talent's 40-fold amplification, which equated to a physique of 120,000 points, protected against all abnormal statuses, providing Lin Moyu sufficient security. Lin Moyu had no idea Meng Anwen had chosen a relatively safe place for him. Meng Anwen deliberately kept this information from Lin Moyu, to prevent him from lowering his guard. Both he and Bai Yi gave repeated warnings regarding the dangers of the immemorial battlefield, so Lin Moyu remained very cautious. Two skeletal warriors appeared next to Lin Moyu, one on either side. He chose a random direction and proceeded forward, the reassuring clattering sounds of the skeletons accompanying his steps. Bai Yiyuan had shown Lin Moyu a simulated map of the battlefield. He also told him that in the immemorial battlefield, there were no definite directions. All directions were relative and subject to change from time to time. Bai Yiyuan hadn't been to the upper layer for many years now and was uncertain of the current changes in the upper layer. In the end, Lin Moyu had to explore it himself. The place Meng Anwen had chosen was indeed quite safe. After walking for a while, Lin Moyu had seen nothing but a few small hills rolling up and down, as well as the vague outlines of tall mountains in the distance. The light was too dim, limiting visibility to only a couple of 100 meters. Finally, Lin Moyu encountered a monster wandering aimlessly more than 100 meters away. The monster noticed him as well. The monster exuded black smoke, looking as if it had just been pulled out of a fire. Its visage bore both human and demon likeness, with some beastly features added into the mix. The monster bared its sharp fangs as it looked at Lin Moyu. What keen senses! Lin Moyu willed, and his skeletal warriors were about to set out, when all of a sudden, the monster vanished from view. Did it run away? In the next moment, Lin Moyu's body tensed up. At the same time, the ground silently split beneath him, and a fire burst out. The bone armor glowed, shielding Lin Moyu from the fire. A dagger with a sharp, cold gleam thrust out from within the fire, then was blocked by the bone armor. When Lin Moyu was attacked, the two skeletal warriors, standing on either side of him, reacted instinctively, their soul fire throbbing madly. Two large blades, glowing with faint golden light, slashed toward the monster. After the skeletal warriors reached level 30 and evolved into gold rank, specks of golden radiance reminiscent of starlight appeared on them, sparsely covering their bodies, as well as their large blades. At this moment, the large blades slashed out at breakneck speed, moving so fast that they left afterimages, shimmering with specks of golden light. The skeletal warriors reacted extremely quickly. From the moment Lin Moyu was attacked to the moment they launched their counterattack, less than 0.5 seconds had passed. The two blades landed on the monster. The monster let out a miserable shriek and, accompanied by a bang, ruptured into a puff of black smoke. It died. Lin Moyu was slightly taken aback. Was the monster that fragile, or were the skeletons that strong? The level 30 gold skeletal warriors, their 4 attributes had reached 40,000 points. Their attack power was indeed astonishing. However, Lin Moyu still found it unlikely that they could instantly kill this monster. After all, this was the immemorial battlefield, and the monster had shown considerable attack power just now. Moreover, he didn't receive any notification, nor did he gain any express. Another burst of fire erupted from the ground, this time on the other side of Lin Moyu. At the same time, a dagger emerged from the fire and stabbed the bone armor with a deafening clang. Lin Moyu willed, and the skeletal warriors struck once more. This time, however, their blades surged with intense light. Skill, Berserk Strike. At this time, the strength attribute of the skeletal warriors was enhanced by 400%, pushing it to 160,000 points. The skeletal warriors broke out with tremendous attack power in an instant. When the skill was activated, the space itself seemed to distort. Struck by red light, the monster shrieked again and burst with a bang, disappearing without a trace. Even the fire on the ground vanished. The entire process was too fast, so fast that Lin Moyu didn't even have time to use detection. There was still no notification, indicating that the opponent wasn't dead yet. This was an assassin-type monster, with weak defense but extremely powerful attack power. If it were an ordinary level 30 class user instead, or even a though and resilient knight or warrior, they would have been severely injured by the surprise attack just now. As for mage-type or support-type class users, they might have been killed in an instant. Out of the corner of his eye, Lin Moyu caught a glimpse of a fire. On the left, in front, half a meter away. In the split second that the fire burst forth, the skeletal warriors had already taken action. At the same time, detection flew out. Of the skeletal warriors' 2 blades, one slashed down from above and sliced the fire in half, while the other directly attacked the ground where the fire had spewed out from. Another shriek rang out, this time without giving the opponent a chance to strike. Fire-seared mist. Level, 38. Strength, 15,000. Agility, 15,000. Spirit, 10,000. Physique, 10,000. Skills, Mystification, Fatal Blow. Traits, Physical damage reduced by 70%, elemental damage reduced by 30%. Lin Moyu looked at the monster's properties. It was called Fire-Searing Mist, and it looked like a mass of burnt mist. Not unlike assassin-type powerhouses, it possessed the Fatal Blow skill, with extremely high instantaneous explosive power. Its strength and agility were both pretty good, though its physique was fairly low. The key lay in its trait, a whopping 70% reduction in physical damage. This explained how it was able to withstand 2 attacks from the skeletal warriors without dying. But this time, the skeletal warrior's preemptive strike delivered the fatal blow. Killed level 38 Fire-Seared Mist, EXP plus 760,000. The amount of express it provided was similar to that of Abyssal Demons, which was in line with its attributes. However, it was slightly more dangerous than Abyssal Demons. Its surprise attacks and terrifying instantaneous explosive power were enough to give many class users a headache. After dealing with this monster, Lin Moyu proceeded to move forward. He walked for a while, yet didn't encounter any more monsters. The immemorial battlefield was very large, and the closer to the center you were, the more monsters there would be. Conversely, the farther from the center you were, the fewer monsters there would be. All those who came to the immemorial battlefield made judgments based on this fact. It had been nearly half a day since he arrived at the immemorial battlefield, and apart from the fire-searing mist he met at the beginning, he hadn't encountered any other monsters. What Lin Moyu felt was desolation. Apart from the black earth and the undulating hills, there was nothing. By now, he was sure that he was at the very edge of the immemorial battlefield. He changed direction and walked toward another side. After a while, he finally spotted a second monster. It was over 3 meters tall, and was entirely made of black rock. As it slowly moved its massive body, its rocky body rubbed against the ground, making scraping sounds. When Lin Moyu sighted it, it had its back to him. A flash of light emerged from his fingertip and flew out. Black Rock Monster. Level, 45. Strength, 20,000. Agility, 5,000. Spirit, 20,000. Physique, 30,000. Skill, Whirlwind Ball. Traits, Physical damage reduced by 50%, elemental damage reduced by 70%. As expected of a level 45 monster, its 4 attributes combined reached 75,000 points, its strength and spirit each reaching 20,000 points. The monster's skill was a mage-type skill, indicating that it possessed both elemental and physical attacks. While Lin Moyu viewed its properties, the Black Rock monster had already turned around. Its massive arm swung up, and a wind ball even larger than Lin Moyu himself whistled toward him. The whirlwind ball moved at an incredible speed, and it collided with Lin Moyu in an extremely explosive manner. The bone armor shone brilliantly, emitting a blazing white light. With a loud bang, the whirlwind ball exploded in front of Lin Moyu. However, protected by the bone armor, Lin Moyu remained unscathed. But, the 2 skeletal warriors next to him were knocked back by several meters. The whirlwind ball came with the knockback effect. The 2 skeletal warriors quickly rushed forward and unleashing their skill, and their large blades struck the Black Rock monster, producing a sound similar to striking metal. The stone monster swung its massive arms at the skeletal warriors. Not only did its wind ball contain the knockback effect, but even its normal attacks contained the knockback effect. The skeletal warriors were knocked back continuously, only to charge forward again. With its physique of 30,000 points and the physical damage reduced by 50% trait, it made the monster incredibly tough. The skeletal warriors were constantly being knocked back and were only able to unleash half of their power at most. Even though the attributes of the 2 skeletal warriors reached 40,000 points, but it would still take them some time to defeat the monster. Another whirlwind ball appeared, slammed into the skeletal warriors, and exploded. With a bang, the 2 skeletal warriors were knocked away. The skeletal warrior that was hit head-on, in particular, was knocked away by more than 100 meters. Lin Moyu willed, and 8 more skeletal warriors appeared. The 10 skeletal warriors surrounded the monster and erupted with their skill. The Black Rock monster let out a muffled roar, the rocks on its body covered in dense cracks. Then, the monster burst apart. Killed level 45 Black Rock monster, EXP plus 1,350,000. The express provided by a level 40 monsters was much higher than that of monsters below level 40. However, there were just too few of them. The monsters here seem to have both physical and elemental damage reduction talents. I wonder how effective my damage curse skill will be against them. The two monsters, with their vast disparity in level, attested to the chaos and disorder within the immemorial battlefield. KKK, human, chilling laughter suddenly echoed through the air. Lin Moyu looked up and saw an abyssal blade demon with 8 arms standing in the air.